Here is the Book of Enoch. Chapter 1. Enoch blessed the righteous chosen ones, foreseeing a time of tribulation when the wicked would be rejected and the righteous saved. Having witnessed a vision of the holy realms, he proclaimed, I have seen the heavens and heard the words of the watchers and saints, understanding that my message is not for this generation, but for a distant future. I speak of the chosen ones. The great Holy One will come, the eternal God will walk on earth, watchers will tremble. The earth will crack, mountains crumble, and the righteous will find peace and protection. Mercy and blessings will be theirs, and God's light will shine upon them. He will come with his saints, executing judgment, punishing the wicked for their perverse deeds and arrogant words against him. Chapter 2. Observe all the things that happen in the sky, how the luminaries of the sky do not change their trajectory in the positions of their lights, how all are born and set, ordered each according to its season, and do not violate their order. Look at the earth and pay attention to its works, from the beginning to the end, as no work of God on the earth changes, and all are visible to you. See the signs of summer and the signs of winter, how the whole earth is filled with water, and how the clouds water the earth with rain. Chapter 3. Observe and see how all the trees wither and lose all their leaves, except for 14 trees whose foliage remains, waiting with all their old leaves until new ones come after 2 or 3 years. Chapter 4. And observe again the signs of summer, how the sun burns and sustains, and then on the burning surface of the earth you seek shade and refuge from the heat of the sun, without finding a way to walk on the ground or on the rocks because of the heat. Chapter 5. Observe and see all the trees, how all the green leaves appear on them and cover them, and all their fruits are for adornment and glory. Praise and consider all these works, and know how the living God, the one who lives forever, has made all these things, how all his works continue from year to year forever, and all obey him without alteration. Everything happens as God has decreed, and see how the seas and rivers do the same, and do not change their tasks according to his commandments. But you have changed your tasks. You have not performed his word, and on the contrary, you have transgressed it and offended his greatness with haughty and offensive words from your impure mouth. Heart of heart, there will be no peace for you. Therefore you will curse your days, and the years of your life will be lost, but the years of your destruction will multiply like an eternal curse. There will be no mercy or peace for you in those days. Your names will mean an eternal curse for all the righteous, and all the cursed will be cursed because of you. All sinners and wicked ones will swear by you. For the chosen ones there will be light, joy, and peace. They will inherit the earth. But for you, the wicked, there will be a curse. And then wisdom will be given to the chosen ones, and they will all live, and they will sin no more, neither by forgetfulness nor by pride. On the contrary, those who are wise will be humble, will not transgress any more, nor sin for the rest of their life, nor die by punishment or divine wrath. But they will fulfill the number of their days of life. Their life will be prolonged in peace, and their years of joy will be multiplied in eternal joy, and peace for all the days of their life. Chapter 6. And it came to pass that in those days the sons of men multiplied. Beautiful and seductive daughters were born to them. The watchers, sons of heaven, saw them and desired them. They said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from the daughters of men and beget sons. Then Semihaza, their leader, said to them, I fear that you may not want to carry out this action, and I will be solely responsible for a great sin. But they replied, Let us all make an oath and bind ourselves under a curse, not to back out of this purpose until it is truly executed. Then all swore together and bound themselves mutually under a curse. There were a total of 200 who descended on the summit of the mountain they called Hermon, because they had sworn there and bound themselves mutually under a curse. Here are the names of their leaders: Semihaza, who was the chief, and in order in relation to him, Artachifa, Ramael, Kokabial, Ramael, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakial, Asael, Armaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zakiel, Samsavel, Sartael, Turel, Yomyael, Yadael. These are the chiefs of the 10. Chapter 7. All and their leaders took wives for themselves, each choosing from among them, and began to unite with them and to contaminate themselves with them. They taught them sorcery, magic, the cutting of roots, and instructed them in plants. They became pregnant by them and gave birth to giants of 3,000 cubits in height, who were born on the earth. In their infancy they grew and devoured the work of all the children of men, to the point that humans could no longer feed them. Then the giants turned against humans to kill and devour them, and began to sin against all the birds of the sky, against all the beasts of the earth, against reptiles, and against the fish of the sea. They devoured each other and drank blood. Then the earth accused the ungodly for all that had been done on it. Chapter 8. Asael taught men to make iron swords and copper breastplates, and showed them how to extract and work gold until it became refined. Regarding silver, to engrave it to make bracelets and other ornaments. He taught women antimony, the use of eye makeup, precious stones and dyes. And then impiety grew greatly, and they took crooked paths and became corrupted in all their forms. Semihaza taught enchantments and the cutting of roots, Armaros the abolition of enchantments, sorcery, magic, and related arts, Barakijal the signs, Kokabiel the omens of the stars, Ezekiel the omens of lightning. He taught their meanings. Arakiel taught the signs of the earth, Samsavel the omens of the sun, and Sariel the omens of the moon. And they all began to reveal secrets to their wives. As men were being destroyed, their cry rose to the sky. Chapter 9. Then Michael, Sariel, Raphael, and Gabriel observed the earth from the sanctuary of the heavens. They saw much bloodshed on the earth, and it was filled with injustice and violence committed upon it. Considering this, the four said, "The cry and lamentation for the destruction of the children of the earth rise to the gates of heaven." And they said to the saints of heaven, "Now it is you for whom the souls of the children of men plead, saying, Bring our case before the Most High, our destruction before the glorious Majesty, and before the Lord of all lords as Majesty." Raphael, Michael, Sariel, and Gabriel said to the Lord of the world, "You are our great Lord, the Lord of the world, the God of gods, the Lord of lords, the King of kings. The heavens are the throne of your glory for all generations that have existed forever. All the earth is a footstool before you forever, and your name is great, holy, and blessed for all eternity. It is you who created all things, and in you resides power over all things. Everything is exposed in all its nakedness before you. You see everything, and nothing can remain hidden from you. You have seen what Asael has done, how he has taught all injustice on the earth, and revealed the eternal secrets that occur in the heavens, and what he taught to man, to Shemihaza, to whom you had given the authority to rule over his companions. They went to the daughters of men, lay with them, and defiled themselves by revealing every sin. Then these women bore giants into the world, and the earth was filled with blood and injustice. Now behold, the souls of those who have died cry and lament to the gates of heaven, and their groaning rises and cannot cease because of the injustice committed on the earth. But you, who know all things before they happen, you who know this, you tolerate it and do not tell us what we must do for them by observing this. Chapter 10. Then the Most High, great and holy, spoke and sent Sariel, the son of Lamech, and said to him, "Go to Noah and tell him in my name, hide yourself, and reveal to him the coming end, for all the earth is about to perish. A flood is coming upon the whole earth, and everything on it will perish. Instruct the righteous one, the son of Lamech, on what he must do to preserve his soul for life and escape definitively. For through him a seed will be planted, and all generations will be established." Furthermore, the Lord said to Raphael, "Bind Azazel, hands and feet, throw him into darkness, open the desert that is in Dudael, and throw him there. Throw rough and sharp stones on him, cover him in darkness, leave him there forever, without being able to see the light. And on the great day of judgment, let him be thrown into the fire. Then heal the earth that the watchers have corrupted, and announce its healing to remove the plague, so that all the sons of men do not perish, because of the mystery that the watchers have discovered and taught to their sons. The whole earth has been corrupted by the works taught by Asael. Charge him with all sin. And the Lord said to Gabriel, Proceed against the bastards and the offspring of fornication. Make the sons of the watchers disappear from among men. Make them enter into a war of destruction. For they will not have many days, and no request will be granted for them. For they hope to live an eternal life, or that each one lives 500 years. And concerning Michael, the Lord said, Go and announce to Semjaza and all his accomplices, who joined with women and contaminated themselves with them in their impurity, that their children will die, and they will see the death of their beloved ones. Chain them for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth until the great day of their judgment. In those days they will be led into the abyss of fire, into torments and imprisonment in the eternal prison. Everyone who is condemned will be lost from there and will be chained with them until the destruction of their generation. And at the time of the judgment that I will judge, they will perish for all generations. Destroy all the spirits of bastards and the children of the watchers, for they have done evil to men. Destroy the oppression from the face of the earth. Eradicate all the works of impiety and make the plant of justice appear. It will be a blessing, and the works of the righteous will be planted in joy forever. At that time all the righteous will escape and live until they bear thousands. All the days of their youth and old age will be completed in peace. Then the whole earth will be cultivated in justice, planted with all kinds of trees, and full of blessing. All the trees of the earth that desire will be planted in it, and they will grow there. There will be vines, and each will produce 1,000 jugs of wine. Each seed will produce 1,000 measures, and a measure of olives will produce 10 presses of oil. Purify the earth from all oppression, violence, sin, impurity, and malice that is in it, and remove all this from the earth. All the children of men will become righteous, and all nations will worship me, turn to me in prayer and praise me. The earth will be rid of all corruption, sin, punishment, and pain, and I will no longer send plagues on the earth for generations and generations, nor for all eternity. Chapter 11. In those days I will open the treasuries of blessing that are in heaven, to bring them down on the earth, on the works and labor of the children of men. Peace and truth will be united every day of the world, and for all generations. Chapter 12. After these events, Enoch had been hidden, and no human knew where he had been hidden, nor what had happened to him. He carried out all his actions with the watchers, and spent his days with the saints. Thus I, Enoch, began to bless the Lord of Majesty, the King of times, and behold, the watcher of the great Holy One called me, the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, writer of righteousness, go to the watchers of heaven, who have abandoned the heights of heaven, the eternal holy place, and who have contaminated themselves with women, acting as the children of men do. They have taken wives and have forged a great work of corruption on the earth. Let them know that there will be neither peace nor redemption for their sin. Just as they rejoiced because of their sons, they will see the death of their beloved ones and mourn the loss of their children forever. They will supplicate eternally, but there will be neither mercy nor peace for them. Chapter 13. Then Enoch went and said to Sariel, There will be no peace for you. A great judgment has been pronounced against you to bind you. There will be no respite or intercession for you have taught injustice, and because of all the works of impiety, violence, and sin that you have taught to humans. And as I approached, I spoke to them all, and all were afraid and terrified, and terror seized them. They pleaded with me to intercede for them, so that they could find forgiveness for their sins, and to read this before the Lord of heaven, for since then they could no longer speak to God or lift their eyes to heaven, because of the shame for the crimes for which they were condemned. So I wrote their prayer with all their requests for their souls, and for each of their works, and for what all were supplicating, that there might be forgiveness and a long life for them. I went and sat by the waters of Dan, on the land of Dan south of Mount Moriah, next to it to the west. I continued reading the book where I had noted their prayers until I fell asleep. Behold, dreams came to me and visions fell upon me, until I opened my eyelids at the gates of the palace of heaven. I saw a vision of severe punishment, and a voice said to me, Speak, to the children of heaven to reprove them. When I woke up, I went to them, and they were all gathered together, sitting and weeping at the fountain of lamentation between Lebanon and Senir, with their faces covered. I recounted before them all the visions I had seen in the dreams, and I began to speak in words of righteousness, vision, and to reprove the heavenly watchers. Chapter 14. This is the book of the words of truth and reproof of the watchers, who have existed forever as ordained by the Great Holy One. In the dream that I had in this vision, I saw with my dream what I now speak, with the language of flesh, with the breath of my mouth that the Great One has given to humans to speak with, and to understand in their hearts. Thus, God created and destined the sons of men to understand the words of knowledge. So, He created me, made me, and destined me to reprove the watchers, the sons of heaven. Watchers, I have written your petition, and it was revealed to me in a vision that it will never be granted, and there will be judgment by decision and decree against you. Henceforth you will not return to heaven for all ages. You will not ascend, for a sentence has been decreed to bind you in the prisons of the earth for all eternity. But before that you will see that all your beloved ones will go to destruction with all their children, and you will not enjoy the riches of your beloved ones and their children. They will fall in your presence by the sword of destruction, for your petition for them or for you will not be granted. You will continue to plead and supplicate, and as you weep, do not utter a word of the text that I have written. This was revealed to me in the vision. Behold, the clouds called me, the mist cried to me, and the lightning and thunder pressed and urged me. In the vision, the winds carried me, lifting me upwards, leading me into the heavens. I entered there until I reached the wall of a building constructed with hailstones, entirely enclosed, and surrounded with tongues of fire that began to frighten me. I passed through those tongues of fire until I reached a great house, built with hailstones, its walls like stone slabs, all made of snow. Its floor made of snow, its roof like lightning and thunder, and amidst them were cherubim of fire, and its sky was water. A burning fire encircled all its walls, completely surrounding them, and the gates were of burning fire. I entered into this house, which was hot like fire and cold like snow. There were none of life's pleasures. I was consumed by fear. Trembling seized me, shaking. I fell on my face, and a vision was revealed to me. Behold, I saw a door open before me, and another house, larger than the previous one, entirely constructed with tongues of fire, surpassing the other in splendor, glory, and majesty, to such an extent that I cannot describe its splendor or majesty. Its floor was fire, its upper part of thunder and lightning, its roof of burning fire. It was revealed to me, and I saw within it a high throne whose appearance was like crystal, and its outline was like the shining sun. I had a vision of a cherub above the throne. Rivers of burning fire flowed forth, and I could not resist looking there. The great glory was seated on the throne, and his garments shone more than the sun and whiter than all snow. No angel could enter and see his face because of the magnificent glory, and no fleshly being could look at him. A burning fire surrounded him, and a great fire arose before him. None of those around him could approach him, and multitudes stood before him. He had no need of counselors, and the holiness of the saints who were near him did not depart either by night or day. Until that moment I was prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own voice and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and listen to my word." One of the saints came to me, woke me, made me rise, and led me to the door. I bowed my head downward. Chapter 15. And he answered me, spoke to me, and I heard his voice. "Fear not, Enoch, righteous man, writer of justice. Approach and listen to my voice. Go and tell the watchers of heaven who sent you to plead for them. It is for you to plead for humans, not humans for you. Why did you forsake the exalted, holy, and eternal heaven? You lay with women. You defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and you took wives as the sons of the earth. You begot giant sons. You who were holy spirits living an eternal life, you defiled yourselves with the blood of women. You have already begotten with the blood of flesh, and like the sons of man, you desired flesh and blood like those who die and perish. Therefore I gave them women so that they might conceive by them, bear sons by them, and thus they will not lack on the earth. For you who were first spirits, living an eternal and immortal life for all generations of the world, that is why women are not assigned to you, for the abode of the spirits of heaven is heaven. And now the giants born of spirits and flesh will be called evil spirits on the earth, and their dwelling will be on the earth. The evil spirits come from the bodies, for they are born of humans and the holy watchers in their beginning and primordial origin. The evil spirits will be on the earth and will be called evil spirits. The spirits of heaven have their abode in heaven, and the spirits of the earth who were born on the earth have their abode on the earth. The spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, who afflict, oppress, invade, fight, and destroy on the earth and cause misfortunes. Though they do not eat, they hunger and thirst and cause harm. These spirits will rise against the sons of men and against women, for they come from them. Chapter 16. After the death of the giants, when the spirits have left the body, their flesh will be destroyed before the judgment. They will thus be destroyed until the day of the great consummation of the grand judgment, when time will end for the watchers and the wicked, and you will be completely consumed. And now to the watchers who sent you to plead for them, who formerly dwelt in heaven, tell them, you were in heaven, but not all mysteries were revealed to you. You knew only an unworthy mystery, and by the hardening of your heart, you communicated it to women, and by this mystery they and men multiplied evil on the earth. Therefore tell them, you will not have peace. Chapter 17. Then they took me to a place whose inhabitants were like a burning fire, but when they wished, they appeared as humans. They brought me to the house of the storm, on a mountain whose peak reached the sky. I saw the abodes of the luminaries, and the treasures of the stars and thunder at the limits of the abyss, where there is the bow of fire, its arrows and its quiver, the sword of fire, and all the lightning. Then they took me towards the waters of life and the fire of the west, that gathers all sunsets. I reached a river of fire, whose flames flowed like water and poured into the great sea located on the western side. I saw great rivers and reached a great darkness, where no fleshly being walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place where all the waters of the abyss flow, and I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the abyss. Chapter 14. This is the book of the words of truth and reproof of the watchers, who have existed forever as ordained by the great Holy One. In the dream that I had in this vision, I saw with my dream what I now speak with the language of flesh, with the breath of my mouth that the Great One has given to humans to speak with, and to understand in their hearts. Thus God created and destined the sons of men to understand the words of knowledge. So he created me, made me, and destined me to reprove the watchers, the sons of heaven. Watchers, I have written your petition, and it was revealed to me in a vision that it will never be granted, and there will be judgment by decision and decree against you. Henceforth you will not return to heaven for all ages, you will not ascend, for a sentence has been decreed to bind you in the prisons of the earth for all eternity. But before that, you will see that all your beloved ones will go to destruction with all their children, and you will not enjoy the riches of your beloved ones and their children. They will fall in your presence by the sword of destruction, for your petition for them or for you will not be granted. You will continue to plead and supplicate, and as you weep, do not utter a word of the text that I have written. This was revealed to me in the vision. Behold, the clouds called me, the mist cried to me, and the lightning and thunder pressed and urged me. In the vision, the winds carried me, lifting me upwards, leading me into the heavens. I entered there until I reached the wall of a building constructed with hailstones, entirely enclosed, and surrounded with tongues of fire that began to frighten me. I passed through those tongues of fire until I reached a great house built with hailstones, its walls like stone slabs all made of snow, its floor made of snow, its roof like lightning and thunder, and amidst them were cherubim of fire, and its sky was water. A burning fire encircled all its walls, completely surrounding them, and the gates were of burning fire. I entered into this house which was hot like fire and cold like snow. There were none of life's pleasures. I was consumed by fear. Trembling seized me. Shaking, I fell on my face, and a vision was revealed to me. Behold, I saw a door open before me, and another house, larger than the previous one, entirely constructed with tongues of fire, surpassing the other in splendor, glory, and majesty, to such an extent that I cannot describe its splendor or majesty. Its floor was fire, its upper part of thunder and lightning, its roof of burning fire. It was revealed to me, and I saw within it a high throne whose appearance was like crystal, and its outline was like the shining sun. I had a vision of a cherub above the throne. Rivers of burning fire flowed forth, and I could not resist looking there. The great glory was seated on the throne, and his garments shone more than the sun and whiter than all snow. No angel could enter and see his face because of the magnificent glory, and no fleshly being could look at him. A burning fire surrounded him, and a great fire arose before him. None of those around him could approach him, and multitudes stood before him. He had no need of counselors, and the holiness of the saints who were near him did not depart either by night or day. Until that moment, I was prostrate on my face, trembling, and the Lord called me with his own voice and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and listen to my word." One of the saints came to me, woke me, made me rise, and led me to the door. I bowed my head downward. Chapter 15. And he answered me, spoke to me, and I heard his voice. "Fear not, Enoch, righteous man, writer of justice. Approach and listen to my voice. Go and tell the watchers of heaven who sent you to plead for them. It is for you to plead for humans, not humans for you. Why did you forsake the exalted, holy, and eternal heaven? You lay with women, you defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and you took wives as the sons of the earth. You begot giant sons. You who were holy spirits living an eternal life, you defiled yourselves with the blood of women. You have already begotten with the blood of flesh, and like the sons of man, you desired flesh and blood, like those who die and perish. Therefore I gave them women so that they might conceive by them, bear sons by them, and thus they will not lack on the earth. For you, who were first spirits, living an eternal and immortal life for all generations of the world. That is why women are not assigned to you, for the abode of the spirits of heaven is heaven. And now the giants born of spirits and flesh will be called evil spirits on the earth, and their dwelling will be on the earth. The evil spirits come from the bodies, for they are born of humans, and the holy watchers in their beginning and primordial origin, the evil spirits will be on the earth, and will be called evil spirits. The spirits of heaven have their abode in heaven, and the spirits of the earth, who were born on the earth, have their abode on the earth. The spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, who afflict, oppress, invade, fight, and destroy on the earth and cause misfortunes, though they do not eat, they hunger and thirst and cause harm. These spirits will rise against the sons of men and against women, for they come from them. Chapter 16. After the death of the giants, when the spirits have left the body, their flesh will be destroyed before the judgment. They will thus be destroyed until the day of the great consummation of the grand judgment, when time will end for the watchers and the wicked, and you will be completely consumed. And now to the watchers who sent you to plead for them, who formerly dwelt in heaven, tell them, you were in heaven, but not all mysteries were revealed to you. You knew only an unworthy mystery, and by the hardening of your heart you communicated it to women, and by this mystery they and men multiplied evil on the earth. Therefore tell them, you will not have peace. Chapter 17. Then they took me to a place whose inhabitants were like a burning fire, but when they wished, they appeared as humans. They brought me to the house of the storm, on a mountain whose peak reached the sky. I saw the abodes of the luminaries, and the treasures of the stars, and thunder at the limits of the abyss, where there is the bow of fire, its arrows and its quiver, the sword of fire, and all the lightning. Then they took me towards the waters of life and the fire of the west that gathers all sunsets. I reached a river of fire whose flames flowed like water and poured into the great sea located on the western side. I saw great rivers, and reached a great darkness where no fleshly being walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place where all the waters of the abyss flow, and I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the abyss. Chapter 14. This is the book of the words of truth and reproof of the watchers, who have existed forever, as ordained by the great Holy One. In the dream that I had in this vision, I saw with my dream what I now speak with the language of flesh, with the breath of my mouth, that the Great One has given to humans to speak with, and to understand in their hearts. Thus God created and destined the sons of men to understand the words of knowledge. So he created me, made me, and destined me to reprove the watchers, the sons of heaven. Watchers, I have written your petition, and it was revealed to me in a vision that it will never be granted, and there will be judgment by decision and decree against you. Henceforth you will not return to heaven for all ages. You will not ascend, for a sentence has been decreed to bind you in the prisons of the earth for all eternity. But before that, you will see that all your beloved ones will go to destruction with all their children, and you will not enjoy the riches of your beloved ones and their children. They will fall in your presence by the sword of destruction, for your petition for them or for you will not be granted. You will continue to plead and supplicate, and as you weep, do not utter a word of the text that I have written. This was revealed to me in the vision. Behold, the clouds called me. The mist cried to me, and the lightning and thunder pressed and urged me. In the vision, the winds carried me, lifting me upwards, leading me into the heavens. I entered there until I reached the wall of a building constructed with hailstones, entirely enclosed, and surrounded with tongues of fire that began to frighten me. I passed through those tongues of fire until I reached a great house built with hailstones, its walls like stone slabs, all made of snow, its floor made of snow, its roof like lightning and thunder, and amidst them were cherubim of fire, and its sky was water. A burning fire encircled all its walls, completely surrounding them, and the gates were of burning fire. I entered into this house, which was hot like fire and cold like snow. There were none of life's pleasures. I was consumed by fear. Trembling seized me, shaking, I fell on my face, and a vision was revealed to me. Behold, I saw a door open before me, and another house, larger than the previous one, entirely constructed with tongues of fire, surpassing the other in splendor, glory, and majesty, to such an extent that I cannot describe its splendor or majesty. Its floor was fire, its upper part of thunder and lightning, its roof of burning fire. It was revealed to me, and I saw within it a high throne whose appearance was like crystal, and its outline was like the shining sun. I had a vision of a cherub above the throne. Rivers of burning fire flowed forth, and I could not resist looking there. The great glory was seated on the throne, and his garments shone more than the sun and whiter than all snow. No angel could enter and see his face because of the magnificent glory, and no fleshly being could look at him. A burning fire surrounded him, and a great fire arose before him. None of those around him could approach him, and multitudes stood before him. He had no need of counselors, and the holiness of the saints who were near him did not depart either by night or day. Until that moment I was prostrate on my face, trembling, and the Lord called me with his own voice and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and listen to my word." One of the saints came to me, woke me, made me rise, and led me to the door. I bowed my head downward. Chapter 15. And he answered me, spoke to me, and I heard his voice. "Fear not, Enoch, righteous man, writer of justice, approach and listen to my voice. Go and tell the watchers of heaven who sent you to plead for them. It is for you to plead for humans, not humans for you. Why did you forsake the exalted, holy, and eternal heaven? You lay with women, you defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and you took wives as the sons of the earth. You begot giant sons, you who were holy spirits, living an eternal life. You defiled yourselves with the blood of women. You have already begotten with the blood of flesh, and like the sons of man, you desired flesh and blood like those who die and perish. Therefore I gave them women, so that they might conceive by them, bear sons by them, and thus they will not lack on the earth. For you, who were first spirits, living an eternal and immortal life for all generations of the world. That is why women are not assigned to you, for the abode of the spirits of heaven is heaven. And now the giants, born of spirits and flesh, will be called evil spirits on the earth, and their dwelling will be on the earth. The evil spirits come from the bodies, for they are born of humans, and the holy watchers in their beginning and primordial origin. The evil spirits will be on the earth, and will be called evil spirits. The spirits of heaven have their abode in heaven, and the spirits of the earth, who were born on the earth, have their abode on the earth. The spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, who afflict, oppress, invade, fight and destroy on the earth and cause misfortunes. Though they do not eat, they hunger and thirst and cause harm. These spirits will rise against the sons of men and against women, for they come from them. Chapter 16. After the death of the giants, when the spirits have left the body, their flesh will be destroyed before the judgment. They will thus be destroyed until the day of the great consummation of the grand judgment, when time will end for the watchers and the wicked, and you will be completely consumed. And now, to the watchers who sent you to plead for them, who formerly dwelt in heaven, tell them, you were in heaven, but not all mysteries were revealed to you. You knew only an unworthy mystery, and by the hardening of your heart you communicated it to women. And by this mystery they and men multiplied evil on the earth. Therefore tell them, you will not have peace. Chapter 17. Then they took me to a place whose inhabitants were like a burning fire, but when they wished they appeared as humans. They brought me to the house of the storm, on a mountain whose peak reached the sky. I saw the abodes of the luminaries and the treasures of the stars and thunder at the limits of the abyss, where there is the bow of fire, its arrows and its quiver, the sword of fire, and all the lightning. Then they took me towards the waters of life and the fire of the west that gathers all sunsets. I reached a river of fire whose flames flowed like water and poured into the great sea located on the western side. I saw great rivers and reached a great darkness where no fleshly being walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter and the place where all the waters of the abyss flow, and I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth and the mouth of the abyss. Chapter 14. This is the book of the words of truth and reproof of the watchers, who have existed forever as ordained by the great Holy One. In the dream that I had in this vision, I saw with my dream what I now speak with the language of flesh, with the breath of my mouth that the Great One has given to humans to speak with and to understand in their hearts. Thus God created and destined the sons of men to understand the words of knowledge. So he created me, made me, and destined me to reprove the watchers, the sons of heaven. Watchers, I have written your petition, and it was revealed to me in a vision that it will never be granted, and there will be judgment by decision and decree against you. Henceforth you will not return to heaven for all ages. You will not ascend, for a sentence has been decreed to bind you in the prisons of the earth for all eternity. But before that, you will see that all your beloved ones will go to destruction with all their children, and you will not enjoy the riches of your beloved ones and their children. They will fall in your presence by the sword of destruction, for your petition for them or for you will not be granted. You will continue to plead and supplicate, and as you weep, do not utter a word of the text that I have written. This was revealed to me in the vision. Behold, the clouds called me, the mist cried to me, and the lightning and thunder pressed and urged me. In the vision, the winds carried me, lifting me upwards, leading me into the heavens. I entered there until I reached the wall of a building constructed with hailstones, entirely enclosed and surrounded with tongues of fire that began to frighten me. I passed through those tongues of fire until I reached a great house built with hailstones, its walls like stone slabs, all made of snow, its floor made of snow, its roof like lightning and thunder, and amidst them were cherubim of fire, and its sky was water. A burning fire encircled all its walls, completely surrounding them, and the gates were of burning fire. I entered into this house which was hot like fire and cold like snow. There were none of life's pleasures. I was consumed by fear. Trembling seized me, shaking. I fell on my face, and a vision was revealed to me. Behold, I saw a door open before me, and another house, larger than the previous one, entirely constructed with tongues of fire, surpassing the other in splendor, glory, and majesty, to such an extent that I cannot describe its splendor or majesty. Its floor was fire, its upper part of thunder and lightning, its roof of burning fire. It was revealed to me, and I saw within it a high throne, whose appearance was like crystal, and its outline was like the shining sun. I had a vision of a cherub above the throne. Rivers of burning fire flowed forth, and I could not resist looking there. The great glory was seated on the throne, and his garments shone more than the sun and whiter than all snow. No angel could enter and see his face because of the magnificent glory, and no fleshly being could look at him. A burning fire surrounded him, and a great fire arose before him. None of those around him could approach him, and multitudes stood before him. He had no need of counselors, and the holiness of the saints who were near him did not depart either by night or day. Until that moment, I was prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own voice and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and listen to my word." One of the saints came to me, woke me, made me rise, and led me to the door. I bowed my head downward. Chapter 15. And he answered me, spoke to me, and I heard his voice. "Fear not, Enoch, righteous man, writer of justice, approach and listen to my voice. Go and tell the watchers of heaven who sent you to plead for them. It is for you to plead for humans, not humans for you. Why did you forsake the exalted, holy, and eternal heaven? You lay with women, you defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and you took wives as the sons of the earth. You begot giant sons, you who were holy spirits. Living an eternal life, you defiled yourselves with the blood of women. You have already begotten with the blood of flesh, and like the sons of man you desired flesh and blood, like those who die and perish. Therefore I gave them women, so that they might conceive by them, bear sons by them, and thus they will not lack on the earth. For you, who were first spirits, living an eternal and immortal life for all generations of the world, that is why women are not assigned to you, for the abode of the spirits of heaven is heaven. And now the giants born of spirits and flesh will be called evil spirits on the earth, and their dwelling will be on the earth. The evil spirits come from the bodies, for they are born of humans, and the holy watchers in their beginning and primordial origin. The evil spirits will be on the earth, and will be called evil spirits. The spirits of heaven have their abode in heaven, and the spirits of the earth, who were born on the earth, have their abode on the earth. The spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, who afflict, oppress, invade, fight, and destroy on the earth and cause misfortunes. Though they do not eat, they hunger and thirst and cause harm. These spirits will rise against the sons of men and against women, for they come from them. Chapter 16. After the death of the giants, when the spirits have left the body, their flesh will be destroyed before the judgment. They will thus be destroyed until the day of the great consummation of the grand judgment, when time will end for the watchers and the wicked, and you will be completely consumed. And now to the watchers who sent you to plead for them, who formerly dwelt in heaven, tell them, you were in heaven, but not all mysteries were revealed to you. You knew only an unworthy mystery, and by the hardening of your heart you communicated it to women, and by this mystery they and men multiplied evil on the earth. Therefore tell them, you will not have peace. Chapter 17. Then they took me to a place whose inhabitants were like a burning fire, but when they wished, they appeared as humans. They brought me to the house of the storm, on a mountain whose peak reached the sky. I saw the abodes of the luminaries and the treasures of the stars and thunder at the limits of the abyss, where there is the bow of fire, its arrows and its quiver, the sword of fire, and all the lightning. Then they took me towards the waters of life and the fire of the west that gathers all sunsets. I reached a river of fire whose flames flowed like water and poured into the great sea, located on the western side. I saw great rivers and reached a great darkness where no fleshly being walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place where all the waters of the abyss flow, and I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the abyss. Chapter 14. This is the book of the words of truth and reproof of the watchers, who have existed forever as ordained by the great Holy One. In the dream that I had in this vision, I saw with my dream what I now speak with the language of flesh, with the breath of my mouth that the Great One has given to humans to speak with and to understand in their hearts. Thus God created and destined the sons of men to understand the words of knowledge. So he created me, made me, and destined me to reprove the watchers, the sons of heaven. Watchers, I have written your petition, and it was revealed to me in a vision that it will never be granted, and there will be judgment by decision and decree against you. Henceforth you will not return to heaven for all ages. You will not ascend, for a sentence has been decreed to bind you in the prisons of the earth for all eternity. But before that, you will see that all your beloved ones will go to destruction with all their children, and you will not enjoy the riches of your beloved ones and their children. They will fall in your presence by the sword of destruction, for your petition for them or for you will not be granted. You will continue to plead and supplicate, and as you weep, do not utter a word of the text that I have written. This was revealed to me in the vision. Behold, the clouds called me, the mist cried to me, and the lightning and thunder pressed and urged me. In the vision, the winds carried me, lifting me upwards, leading me into the heavens. I entered there until I reached the wall of a building constructed with hailstones, entirely enclosed and surrounded with tongues of fire that began to frighten me. I passed through those tongues of fire until I reached a great house built with hailstones, its walls like stone slabs all made of snow, its floor made of snow, its roof like lightning and thunder, and amidst them were cherubim of fire, and its sky was water. A burning fire encircled all its walls, completely surrounding them, and the gates were of burning fire. I entered into this house which was hot like fire and cold like snow. There were none of life's pleasures. I was consumed by fear. Trembling seized me, shaking. I fell on my face, and a vision was revealed to me. Behold, I saw a door open before me, and another house, larger than the previous one, entirely constructed with tongues of fire, surpassing the other in splendor, glory, and majesty, to such an extent that I cannot describe its splendor or majesty. Its floor was fire, its upper part of thunder and lightning, its roof of burning fire. It was revealed to me, and I saw within it a high throne whose appearance was like crystal, and its outline was like the shining sun. I had a vision of a cherub above the throne. Rivers of burning fire flowed forth, and I could not resist looking there. The great glory was seated on the throne, and his garments shone more than the sun and whiter than all snow. No angel could enter and see his face because of the magnificent glory, and no fleshly being could look at him. A burning fire surrounded him, and a great fire arose before him. None of those around him could approach him, and multitudes stood before him. He had no need of counselors, and the holiness of the saints who were near him did not depart either by night or day. Until that moment, I was prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own voice and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and listen to my word." One of the saints came to me, woke me, made me rise, and led me to the door. I bowed my head downward. Chapter 15. And he answered me, spoke to me, and I heard his voice. "Fear not, Enoch, righteous man, writer of justice. Approach and listen to my voice. Go and tell the watchers of heaven who sent you to plead for them. It is for you to plead for humans, not humans for you. Why did you forsake the exalted, holy, and eternal heaven? You lay with women, you defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and you took wives as the sons of the earth. You begot giant sons, you who were holy spirits living an eternal life. You defiled yourselves with the blood of women. You have already begotten with the blood of flesh, and like the sons of man, you desired flesh and blood like those who die and perish. Therefore, I gave them women so that they might conceive by them, bear sons by them, and thus they will not lack on the earth. For you, who were first spirits, living an eternal and immortal life for all generations of the world, that is why women are not assigned to you, for the abode of the spirits of heaven is heaven. And now, the giants born of spirits and flesh will be called evil spirits on the earth, and their dwelling will be on the earth. The evil spirits come from the bodies, for they are born of humans and the holy watchers in their beginning and primordial origin. The evil spirits will be on the earth and will be called evil spirits. The spirits of heaven have their abode in heaven, and the spirits of the earth, who were born on the earth, have their abode on the earth. The spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, who afflict, oppress, invade, fight, and destroy on the earth and cause misfortunes, though they do not eat, they hunger and thirst and cause harm. These spirits will rise against the sons of men and against women, for they come from them. Chapter 16. After the death of the giants, when the spirits have left the body, their flesh will be destroyed before the judgment. They will thus be destroyed until the day of the great consummation of the grand judgment, when time will end for the watchers and the wicked, and you will be completely consumed. And now to the watchers who sent you to plead for them, who formerly dwelt in heaven, tell them, you were in heaven, but not all mysteries were revealed to you. You knew only an unworthy mystery, and by the hardening of your heart you communicated it to women, and by this mystery they and men multiplied evil on the earth. Therefore tell them, you will not have peace. Chapter 17. Then they took me to a place whose inhabitants were like a burning fire, but when they wished, they appeared as humans. They brought me to the house of the storm, on a mountain whose peak reached the sky. I saw the abodes of the luminaries and the treasures of the stars and thunder at the limits of the abyss, where there is the bow of fire, its arrows and its quiver, the sword of fire, and all the lightning. Then they took me towards the waters of life and the fire of the west that gathers all sunsets. I reached a river of fire whose flames flowed like water and poured into the great sea located on the western side. I saw great rivers and reached a great darkness where no fleshly being walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter and the place where all the waters of the abyss flow, and I saw the mouth of all the rivers of the earth and the mouth of the abyss. Chapter 18. I saw the treasures of the winds and saw that with them he adorned all creation and the foundations of the earth. I also saw the cornerstone of the earth and the four winds that support the earth and the firmament. I saw how the winds spread the veil of the sky upward, and how they have their place between the sky and the earth. They are the pillars of the sky. I saw the winds that rotate, that guide the orbits of the sun and the stars in their dwellings. I saw the winds that support the clouds on the earth. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw, at the ends of the earth, the firmament on high. Then I went towards the south, and saw a place that burned day and night, where there were 7 mountains of precious stones, 3 on the eastern side and 3 on the southern side. Among those in the east there was one of multicolored stone, one of pearls, and another of medicinal stones, and those in the south were of red stone. The one in the middle rose to the sky like the throne of the Lord, and the top part of the throne was of sapphire. I saw a burning fire, and beyond those mountains is a region where the great land ends and where the sky reaches its limit. Then I was shown a deep abyss between columns of celestial fire, and I saw within it columns of fire descending to the bottom, whose height and depth were immeasurable. Beyond that abyss, I saw a place where the firmament did not extend, where there were no foundations of the earth, no water, no birds, but it was a desolate and terrible place. There I saw 7 stars resembling great mountains, which were burning. And when I asked about this, the angel said to me, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. It has become the prison of the stars and the powers of heaven. The stars rolling over the fire are those who transgressed the Lord's commandment since the beginning of their ascension, for they did not reach their appointed time. He became angry with them and bound them until the time of the consummation of their fault forever, in the year of mystery." Chapter 19. After that, Sariel told me, "Here will be the watchers who have bound themselves by their own will with women. Their spirits, taking various appearances, became corrupted and led humans to sacrifice to demons and gods until the day of the great judgment, when they will be judged and find their end. As for their women, those who were seduced by the watchers will be appeased. I, Enoch, have only seen the vision of the end of all things, and no human has seen what I have seen. Chapter 20. Here are the names of the holy angels who watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels, called the One of Thunder and Trembling. Raphael, another of the holy angels, the one of the spirits of humans. Rawel, another of the holy angels who punishes the world of the luminaries. Michael, another of the holy angels charged with the best part of humanity and the people. Sariel, another of the holy angels charged with the spirits of the sinful children of men. Gabriel, another of the holy angels charged with paradise, serpents and cherubim. Remiel, another of the holy angels whom God has charged with the resurrected. Chapter 21. Then I returned to where everything was chaotic, and there I saw something horrible. I saw neither sky above nor firm earth founded, but a formless and terrible place. I saw there 4 stars from the sky chained, that appeared like great mountains ablaze as fire. So I asked, for what sin are they chained, and for what reason were they cast here? Uriel, the watcher, and the Holy One who was with me and guided me said, Enoch, why do you ask if you worry about the truth? This number of stars from the heavens is the one that transgressed the Lord's command and was chained here until 10,000 years pass, the time appointed for their sins. From there I passed to another place more terrible than the previous, where there was already a great burning and blazing fire. The place had crevices down to the abyss, full of descending columns of fire, but I could not see their dimensions or their magnitude, and I could not guess. Then I said, how terrifying and terrible to look at this place. Uriel, the watcher, and the Holy One who was with me replied, Enoch, why are you so frightened and terrified? I answered, it is because of this so terrible place and the sight of suffering. He said, this place is the prison of the angels, and they will be imprisoned there forever. Chapter 22. From there I went to another place, a mountain of hard rock where there were 4 deep, wide and very smooth pits. I asked, what are these holes, and why are they so deep and dark? At that moment Raphael, the watcher, and the Holy One who was with me replied, saying, these cavities were created for this purpose, so that the spirits of the souls of the dead might assemble, and all the souls of the sons of men might gather there. Thus these pits will serve as their prison, and are made for this purpose, until the day when they will be judged at the great judgment. That's how they are made for them. Here I saw the spirit of a dead man accusing, his lamentation rising to heaven, crying out and accusing. So I asked Raphael, the watcher, and the Holy One who was with me, whose is this spirit that accuses, complaining thus, until it rises to heaven, crying out and accusing? He replied, it is the spirit that came out of Abel and here accuses his brother Cain for murdering him, until his descendants are eliminated from the face of the earth, and his seed disappears from the line of men. Then I asked, while observing all the pits, why they were separated from one another. He replied, these 3 have been made so that the spirits of the deed may be separated. Thus, one division has been made for the spirits of the righteous, where a source of living water springs up, and so this division has been made for sinners when they die and are buried, and no judgment has been pronounced against them in life. Here, their spirits will be set apart for this great punishment until the day of the great judgment, and they will be punished and tormented forever, those who deserve such retribution for their spirits. This division has been separated for those who lament and denounce their destruction when they were murdered in the days of sinners. It was also made for the spirits of men who were not righteous but sinners, for all transgressors and accomplices of transgression, who, on the day of judgment, will be afflicted far away but will not be resurrected. Then I blessed the Lord of Majesty and said, blessed be the judgment of justice, and blessed be the Lord of Majesty, the Lord of the world. Chapter 23. From there I was transported to another place in the west, at the ends of the earth. I was shown a fire that ran endlessly, without interruption, pursuing its course night and day, remaining constant. So I asked, saying, what is this which knows no rest? Raoul replied to me, the function of this fire running towards the west is to guide all the luminaries of the sky. Chapter 24. He showed me the mountains. The ground between them was of burning fire and flamed at night. I went there and saw 7 magnificent mountains, each different from the others, made of precious stones and beautiful, all splendid, of glorious appearance and beautiful to look at, 3 in the east, leaning against each other, and 3 in the south, one below the other. I saw deep and winding valleys, none joined together. The 7th mountain was in the middle of all, surpassing them in height like a throne, surrounded by aromatic trees, among which there was a tree whose fragrance I had never smelled. No fragrance similar among these or among the other trees emitted a scent superior to this, and its leaves, flowers, and wood never withered. Its fruit was beautiful and resembled palm dates. So I said, "What a beautiful tree, graceful to look at is its foliage, and its fruit has a very pleasing appearance." Then Miguel, the watcher and the Holy One who was with me and responsible for these trees, replied. Chapter 25. He said to me, "Enoch, why do you ask me about the scent of this tree, and why do you want to know the truth?" So I, Enoch, replied, "I desire to learn about everything, but particularly about this tree." He answered me, saying, "This high mountain that you have seen, and whose summit resembles the throne of God, is his throne, where the great Holy One, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit when he descends to visit the earth with kindness. It is not permitted for any being of flesh to touch this fragrant tree until the great judgment, when he will avenge everything and bring all things to their completion forever. Then it will be given to the righteous and the humble. Its fruit will serve as food for the elect, and will be transplanted in the holy place, in the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. Then they will rejoice and be happy, entering the holy place. The fragrance will penetrate their bones, and they will live a long life as their ancestors lived in their days. No suffering, wound, torment, or calamity will touch them." Then I blessed the God of glory, the eternal King, for he had prepared such things for humans. For the righteous he created them, and promised to give them to them. Chapter 26. From there I was transported to the center of the earth, and saw a blessed place where there were trees whose branches grew continuously. There a holy mountain was shown to me, and water flowed from beneath the mountains, coming from the east and flowing towards the south. I saw to the east another mountain higher than that one, and between them a deep and narrow canyon, through which the water flowed that came from the mountain. To the west another mountain lower than the previous one, not high, and below, between the two, a deep and dry hollow, and another hollow between the 3 mountains. All were deep gorges of hard rock, and no tree was planted in them. I marveled at the mountains and was very surprised by the ravines. Chapter 27. So I said, "Why is this land blessed and full of trees, and in the midst of these are these cursed ravines?" Ariel, the watcher, and the Holy One who was with me, replied and said, "This cursed ravine is for those who are cursed forever. This is where all the cursed will be gathered, who, from their mouth, utter indecent words against the Lord, and offend his glory. There they will be gathered, and there will be their place of judgment in the last times. They will undergo the spectacle of the judgment in the presence of the righteous forever. There the mercy and blessing of the Lord of glory and the eternal King will be manifested on the day of judgment upon the elders. They will bless him for the mercy he has reserved for them. Then I blessed the Lord of glory, and I proclaimed his glory and greatness." Chapter 29. From there I went to another place in the desert, heading far east from that place. There I saw wild trees exuding scents of incense and myrrh, and their fruits looked like nuts. Chapter 30. Beyond them I travelled much to the east, and saw another vast place with valleys of abundant waters, where grew sweet-smelling reeds similar to mastic. On the banks of these valleys I saw fragrant cinnamon. Beyond these valleys I headed eastward. Chapter 31. Other mountains were shown to me, and I saw trees from which resin called saru and galbanum came out. All the trees were filled with resin, similar to the bark of the almond tree. From these trees emanated a fragrance, and when the bark was crushed, the scent surpassed any perfume. Chapter 32. Beyond these mountains, to the northeast, I saw other mountains filled with nard, mastic, cardamom, and pepper. From there, I went to the east, far from all these mountains, to the east of the earth, beyond the Red Sea, and I distanced myself from it, passing through the darkness, moving away, and was led to the side of the paradise of justice. I saw from afar trees within it, many exceedingly tall trees, different from one another. I saw a tree that was different from all others, very tall, beautiful, and magnificent, the tree of wisdom. Those who eat of its fruit gain great wisdom. The tree is as tall as a fir tree, its leaves resembling those of the carob tree, and its fruit is like a cluster of beautiful grapes. The fragrance of this tree spreads far. And I said, "What a beautiful tree, and what a delight to behold!" Ramiel, the watcher, and the Holy One who was with me replied, "This is the tree of wisdom, from which your first father and mother ate and gained wisdom. Their eyes were opened, and they understood they were naked, and they were driven out of the Garden of Eden." Chapter 33. From there I went to the ends of the earth and saw there great beasts different from one another, as well as birds diverse in appearance, beauty, and song. To the east of these creatures I saw the end of the earth where the sky rests and where the gates of heaven open. I saw how the stars of the sky are born, and the gates from which they come, and I noted the exits of each of the stars according to their number, their name, their course, and their position, and according to their time and their months, as Uriel, one of the watchers, showed me. He showed me and wrote all this for me, and he even wrote their names according to their times. Chapter 34. From there I was transported to the northern extremity of the earth, and great works were shown to me. I saw 3 gates of heaven open. From each of them come the winds of the north. When they blow, there is cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. If they come out through only one gate, they blow for good. But when they blow through the other 2, it is with strength and calamity on the earth. Chapter 35. And from there I went to the western extremity of the earth, and saw 3 gates of heaven open, the same number of gates and exits that I had seen in the east. Chapter 36. From there I was transported to the southern extremity of the earth, and there I saw its 3 gates open to the winds of the south, for dew, rain, and wind. Chapter 37. And from there I was transported to the eastern extremity of heaven, and saw the 3 eastern gates of heaven. Above them some small gates, and through each of these small gates pass the stars of the sky and follow their appointed course towards the west. Upon seeing this, I bless the Lord of glory all the time, and I will continue to bless the Lord of glory, who has accomplished grand wonders to show the greatness of his work to angels, spirits, and humans, so that they may praise this work, all of his creation, so they may see the manifestation of his power and praise the magnificent work of his hands and bless him forever. Book of Parables. Chapter 38. The second vision that Enoch, son of Jared, son of Mahalalel, son of Canaan, son of Enoch, son of Seth, son of Adam, saw. These are the beginning of the wise words that I uttered with my voice to speak and tell the inhabitants of the earth. Listen, men of the past and future ages, to the words of the Holy One who speaks in the presence of the Lord of spirits. It was excellent to declare them to men of ancient times, but also to those of the future. I will not deny them the beginning of wisdom. So far, such wisdom has not been given by the Lord of spirits, but I received it according to my discernment and according to the will of the Lord of spirits, through whom it was given to me, my part in eternal life. 3 parables were transmitted to me, and I raised my voice to relate them to those who dwell on the earth. Chapter 38. First parable. When the assembly of the righteous is revealed, and the sinners are judged for their sins and expelled from the surface of the earth, when the righteous appear before the eyes of the righteous, of the elect, whose deeds depend on the Lord of spirits, when light shines for the righteous and for the elect who dwell on the earth, where will be the dwelling of the sinners then? Where will be the resting place for those who have denied the Lord of spirits? It would have been better for them not to have been born. when the mysteries of the righteous are revealed, and the sinners are judged and cast out from the presence of the righteous and the elect, from that moment, those who dominate the earth will no longer be powerful or chosen. They will no longer be able to look upon the faces of the saints, for it will be the light of the Lord of spirits shining on the faces of the saints, the righteous, the elect. Then the kings and the powerful will perish and be delivered into the hands of the righteous and the saints, and from that time no one will seek mercy for them from the Lord of spirits, for their life has reached its end. Chapter 39. And it shall come to pass in those days that the sons of the chosen and the saints will descend from the high heavens, and their lineage will become one with the sons of men. Enoch received the books of anger and fury, the books of distress and exile. Nevermore shall they obtain mercy, said the Lord of spirits, and the clouds covered me, and the wind lifted me from the surface of the earth, and left me on the edge of the heavens. There I had another vision. I saw the place where the saints dwell, and the resting place of the righteous. I beheld with my own eyes the abodes among the angels of justice, and their resting places among the saints, as they supplicate and pray for the sons of men. Justice wells up among them like water, and mercy spreads over them like dew on the earth, for everlasting ages. In that place, with my eyes, I saw the chosen one of righteousness and faith. Justice will prevail in his days, and the righteous and the chosen will be countless before him, for everlasting ages. I saw his dwelling under the wings of the Lord of spirits. All the righteous and chosen ones will shine before him like the brilliance of fire. His mouth will be full of blessings, his lips will glorify the name of the Lord of spirits, and justice and truth will not fail before him. I desired to live there, and my spirit longed for that dwelling. It was, before that, my inheritance, as it had been established for me before the Lord of spirits. In those days I glorified the name of the Lord of spirits with blessings and praises, for he destined me for blessing and glory according to the will of the Lord of spirits. My eyes observed that place for a long time, and I blessed it, praising and saying, Blessed be it from the beginning and forever. Before it there is no rejection. He knows from before the world was created what is forever and what will be from generation to generation. Those who do not sleep bless you. They are before your glory and bless, praise, and exalt, saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of spirits. He fills the earth with spirits. My eyes saw all those who do not sleep, blessing and saying, Blessed are you, and blessed be the name of the Lord of spirits for everlasting ages. My face changed, and I could not sustain the gaze. Chapter 40. After this I saw thousands and myriads. I saw an innumerable and incalculable multitude standing before the Lord of spirits, and on the four sides of the Lord of spirits I saw 4 different presences of those who do not sleep. I learned their names because the angel who was with me revealed them and showed me all these hidden things. I heard the voices of these 4 presences, and how they praise the Lord of glory. The first voice blesses the Lord of spirits for everlasting ages. The second voice I heard blessing the chosen and the elect, who depend on the Lord of spirits. The third voice I heard praying for those who live on the earth and supplicating in the name of the Lord of spirits. I heard the fourth voice expelling the Satans and preventing them from approaching the Lord of spirits to accuse those who live on the earth. After this, I asked the angel of peace who was with me and showed me all these hidden things. Who are these 4 presences that I have seen, and whose words I have heard? He answered me, The first, the merciful and very patient one, is Michael. The second, responsible for diseases and all the injuries of the sons of men, is Raphael. The third, in charge of all powers, is Gabriel. The fourth, responsible for the hope of those who will inherit eternal life, is called Ariel. These are the 4 angels of the Lord of spirits, and the 4 voices that I heard in those days. Chapter 41. Then I saw all the mysteries of the heavens, and how the kingdom is divided, and how human actions are weighed in the balance. I saw the dwelling places of the chosen and the dwelling places of the saints. I saw the sinners being cast out from there because they rejected the name of the Lord of spirits and could not stay there due to the punishment that comes from the Lord of spirits. I saw the mysteries of lightning and thunder. the secrets of the winds and how they are distributed to blow on the earth, the secrets of clouds and dew, where they come from, and how they saturate the dust of the earth. I saw the closed chambers from which the winds are distributed, the storehouse of hail and wind, the storehouse of mist and swirling clouds above the earth since the beginning of the world. I saw the chambers of the sun and the moon, where they come from, and where they return, and their wonderful return, as one is superior to the other, their magnificent orbit, and how they do not deviate and faithfully maintain the oath they made to each other. The sun rises first and follows its path according to the command of the Lord of Spirits, whose name is powerful for everlasting ages. After this, I saw the hidden path of the moon and the visible one, and how it travels its path by day and by night, and one takes a position opposite to the other before the Lord of Spirits. They continually give thanks and praise without ceasing, because for them giving thanks is resting. The sun frequently turns to bless or curse, and the course of the moon is a blessing for the righteous and darkness for sinners. In the name of the Lord, who separated light from darkness, who divided the spirits of men and strengthened the spirits of the righteous, in the name of his justice, for no angel can prevent it, no power can stop it. For he has called a judgment for all, and judges them all before him. Chapter 42. Wisdom does not find a place where it can dwell, so its home is in the heavens. Wisdom went to live among the sons of men, and did not find a place, so wisdom returned to its home, and took its place among the angels. Injustice came out of its caves, found those who did not seek it, and dwelt among them, like rain in the desert, and like dew on the thirsty earth. Chapter 43. After this, I saw other phenomena concerning lightning, how some stars become lightning, and can no longer leave their new form. Chapter 45. Here is the second parable concerning those who reject the community of the saints and the Lord of Spirits. They will not ascend to the inner heaven, nor return to earth. Such will be the fate of the sinners, who have denied the name of the Lord of Spirits, those whom you have reserved for the day of suffering and tribulation. On that day, my chosen one will sit on the throne of glory and judge their works. Their resting places will be countless, and in them their spirits will be strengthened. When they see my chosen one and those who have invoked my glorious name, I will make my chosen one dwell among them. I will transform the heaven into a blessing and an eternal light. I will transform the earth and make my chosen ones dwell there. But the sinners and the wicked will not set foot there, for I have filled my righteous ones with peace and made them live before me. But the judgment of the sinners is imminent. I will destroy them from the face of the earth. Chapter 46. There I saw someone who had a head of days, and his head was white like wool. With him there was another whose appearance had the likeness of a man, and his face was full of grace like that of the holy angels. I asked the angel who accompanied me, and showed me all these secret things about this Son of Man. Who is this? Where does he come from? And why does he have the head of days? He answered me and said, This is the Son of Man who possesses justice, with whom justice lives, and who will reveal all hidden treasures. For the Lord of Spirits has chosen him, and destined him for the greatest dignity before the Lord of Spirits, rightly and forever. The Son of Man whom you saw will elevate kings and the mighty from their beds, break the restraints of the strong, and break the teeth of sinners. He will overthrow kings from their thrones and kingdoms, because they did not glorify or praise him, nor humbly acknowledge from where their kingship was granted. He will change the appearance of the strong, filling them with fear. Darkness will be their dwelling place, and worms their bed. They will have no hope of rising from this bed, because they did not exalt the name of the Lord of Spirits, those who judge the stars of heaven, who raise their hands against the Most High, who oppress the earth and dwell in it, whose actions express all injustice, whose power resides in their wealth, whose trust is placed in the gods they made with their hands. They deny the name of the Lord of Spirits, pursue his congregations, and condemn the faithful in the name of the Lord of Spirits. Chapter 47. In those days the prayer of the righteous and the blood of the righteous will ascend from the earth to the Lord of spirits. In those days, the saints who dwell in the heights of heaven will join their voices, supplicate, pray, praise, give thanks, and bless the name of the Lord of spirits, in the name of the blood of the righteous that has been shed, so that the prayer of the righteous may not be in vain before the Lord of spirits. Let there be justice, and let his patience not be eternal. In those times I saw the head of days when he sat on the throne of his glory, and the books of the living were opened before him. All his armies that dwell in the heights of heaven and his court were before him. The hearts of the saints were filled with joy, because the number of the righteous has been established, the prayer of the righteous has been heard, and the blood of the righteous has been brought to the knowledge of the Lord of spirits. Chapter 48. In this place I saw the source of justice, which was inexhaustible, and around it were many sources of wisdom. All the thirsty drank from them and filled themselves with wisdom. They dwelled with the saints, the righteous, and the chosen ones. At that time this Son of Man was named in the presence of the Lord of spirits, and his name before the head of days, even before the sun and signs were created, before the stars of heaven were made. His name was pronounced before the Lord of spirits. He will be for the righteous a staff on which they can lean and not fall. He will be a light for the nations and hope for those who suffer. All those who dwell on the earth will bow down and worship him, praise him, bless him, and celebrate him in songs before the Lord of spirits. That is why he has been chosen and reserved before him since before the creation of the world and forever. The wisdom of the Lord of spirits revealed it to the saints and the righteous. Chapter 49. Because he has preserved the destiny of the righteous, for they have hated and despised this world of injustice, and detested all its works and ways in the name of the Lord of spirits. For by his name they will be saved, and he will avenge their lives. In those days the kings of the earth and the mighty rulers will have their faces downcast because of the works of their hands. For from the day of their distress and affliction they will not be saved. I will deliver them into the hands of my chosen ones like straw in the fire. They will burn before the faces of the saints and sink like lead in the water before the faces of the righteous. Thus they will sink before the faces of the righteous, and no trace of them will be found. On the day of their affliction there will be rest on the earth. Before them they will fall and will not rise again, and no one will be there to raise them. For they have renounced the Lord of spirits and his anointed. Blessed be the name of the Lord of spirits. Chapter 50. In those days a change will occur for the saints and the elect. The light of days will dwell upon them, and glory and honor will turn toward the saints. On the day of affliction, when misfortune accumulates upon sinners, the righteous will triumph by the name of the Lord of spirits, and they will bring others to witness that they can repent and abandon the works of their hands. They will have no merit in the name of the Lord of spirits, yet they will be saved by his name. The Lord of spirits will have compassion on them because his mercy is great. Moreover, he is just in his judgment and in his glory. Injustice cannot persist in his judgment. He who does not repent will perish before him, and from that moment I will have no more mercy for them, says the Lord of spirits. Chapter 51. In those days the earth will render what has been entrusted to it. The sun will also render what it has received, and the depths will render what they owe. For those days are approaching when the elect will rise, and among them will be chosen the righteous and the saints, for the day of their salvation is approaching. The chosen one will sit on my throne in those days, and from his mouth will flow all the mysteries of wisdom and counsel, for the Lord of spirits has granted him and glorified him. In those days the mountains will move like rams, and the hills will leap like lambs that have drunk milk to satiety. The faces of the angels in heaven will shine joyfully. The earth will rejoice. The righteous will inhabit it, and the elect will walk upon it. Chapter 52. After these days, in the place where I had seen all the visions of what is hidden, for I had been carried away by a whirlwind and led to the west, there my eyes saw all the secrets of the heavens. There will come a mountain of copper, another of silver, another of gold, and another of tin. I asked the angel who was with me, saying, "What are these things that I've seen in secret?" He told me, "All that you have seen will serve the reign of his anointed, so that he may be strong and powerful on the earth." Then this angel of peace said, "Wait a little, and all the mysteries surrounding the Lord of Spirits will be revealed to you. These mountains that your eyes have seen of iron, copper, silver, gold, tin, and lead will be like wax before the fire, and like water poured out. They will retreat to his feet. It will happen in those days that no one will be saved by gold or silver, and no one will be able to escape. There will be no iron for war, nor garments for armor. Bronze will be useless, tin will not be valued, and lead will be undesirable. All these things will be removed from the surface of the earth when the Chosen One appears before the face of the Lord of Spirits." Chapter 53. My eyes saw there a deep valley with wide openings, and all those who live on the continents, seas, and islands bring gifts, presents, and symbols of honor to this deep valley without it ever being filled. Their hands have committed crimes, and sinners devour everything they produce with difficulty, criminally oppressing those they exploit. Thus, sinners will be destroyed before the face of the Lord of Spirits. They will be banished from the surface of the earth and will perish forever. For I saw all the angels of punishment settle there and prepare all the instruments of Satan. I asked the angel of peace who was with me why these instruments were prepared. He told me that they were prepared for the troops of Asael, so that they could seize them and cast them into the abyss of total condemnation and cover their jaws with rough stones, as ordered by the Lord of Spirits, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Sariel. On that great day they will seize them and cast them into the fiery abyss, so that the Lord of Spirits may avenge them for becoming subjects of Satan and leading astray those who dwell on the earth. Just as in the time when the punishment of the Lord of Spirits came, when he opened the reservoirs of the waters above the heavens and the underground springs, and all these waters gathered, waters with waters. Those above the heavens are masculine, and those below the earth are feminine. Those who lived on the earth and under the limits of the heavens were exterminated to recognize the injustice they committed on the earth. Chapter 54. Then the head of days repented and said, "In vain have I destroyed all those who live on the earth," and he swore by his great name, "Henceforth I will not act thus with the inhabitants of the earth. I will place a sign in the heavens as a pledge of my faithfulness to them, as long as the heavens are on the earth. This is in accordance with my decision when I desire to seize them by the hands of the angels on the day of tribulation and suffering. Because of this I will release my punishment and anger on them, says the Lord of Spirits. Kings and mighty ones who dwell on the earth, you will see my chosen one seated on the throne of glory, and he will judge Asael, his accomplices and his troops in the name of the Lord of Spirits." Chapter 56. I saw the legions of angels of punishment holding whips and chains of iron and bronze. I asked the angel of peace who was with me where those carrying whips were going. He told me, "They are going to their beloved elect to be cast into the depths of the abyss of the valley. Then this valley will be filled with their beloved elect. The days of their lives will come to an end, and from that moment the time of their wandering will no longer be counted. In those days the angels will return and turn toward the east, where the Persians and Medes will come to the kings. They will be so upset that the spirit of disturbance will overthrow them from their thrones. They will flee like lions from their dens, and like hungry wolves among their flock. They will go and trample on the land of the elect. The land of the elect will be a beaten path for them, but the city of my righteous will be an obstacle for their horses. They will begin to fight against them, and their right hand will deploy its strength against them. A man will not know his brother, nor a son his father or mother, until the number of corpses completes their massacre, and their punishment will not be in vain. In that time the sun will open its jaws and devour them, and their destruction will seal the death of sinners in the presence of the elect. Chapter 57. After that, I saw an army of chariots driven by men heading towards the winds, from the east to the west and to the south. The noise of the chariots could be heard. When this tumult happened, the saints noticed that the pillars of the earth were moving from their place, and the sound produced was heard from one end of heaven to the other for a day. They prostrated themselves and worshipped the Lord of Spirits. This marks the end of the second parable. Chapter 58. I began to recite the third parable concerning the righteous and the elect. Blessed are you, righteous and elect ones, for your destiny will be glorious. The righteous will be in the light of the sun, and the elect in the light of eternal life. The days of their lives will have no end, and the days of the saints will be countless. They will seek the light and find justice with the Lord of Spirits. There will be peace for the righteous in the name of the eternal Lord. After this, the angels of heaven will be sent to seek the mysteries of justice, the inheritance of faith, for it shines like the sun on the earth, and darkness disappears. There will be infinite light, although for a while they will not come, for previously darkness will have been destroyed. The light will be established before the Lord of Spirits, and the light of truth will be established forever before the Lord of Spirits. I saw the mysteries of thunder and how its voice resonates on high in the heavens, executing judgment on the earth, be it for well-being and blessing, or for curse, according to the will of the Lord of Spirits. After that, all the mysteries of lightning and flashes were shown to me. They shine to bless and satisfy. Chapter 60. On the 14th day of the 7th month of the year 500 of Noah's life, I saw a powerful tremor shake the sky of the heavens and the courses of the highest. Multitudes of angels, thousands and thousands, seemed distressed by great agitation. The head of days sat on the throne of his glory, and the angels and the righteous stood around him. A great tremor seized me, and a great fear overwhelmed me. My bowels opened, my kidneys melted, and I fell on my face. Then Michael, another of the holy angels, was sent to lift me up. When he lifted me up, my spirit returned, but I was not able to bear the vision of those agitated multitudes and the convulsing sky. Michael said to me, "Why are you afraid to see these things? Until now it was the time of their mercy, and he has been merciful and slow to anger for those who live on the earth. But when the day comes for the power of the punishment of the judgment that the Lord of Spirits has prepared, for those who do not submit to the law of justice, for those who reject the judgment of justice, and for those who take his name in vain, this day is prepared for the elect a covenant, but for the sinners a punishment. On that day, two monsters will be separated, one female and the other male. The female monster is called Leviathan and dwells in the depths of the sea over the sources of the waters. The male monster is called Behemoth and rests on his belly in a vast desert called Dendayen, to the east of the garden, where the elect and the righteous dwell, where my grandfather was taken, the seventh from Adam, the first man whom the Lord of Spirits created. I begged another angel to reveal to me the power of these monsters, how they were separated in a single day, and cast one into the depths of the sea, and the other onto the dry ground of the desert. He told me, "Son of man, here you will know what is a mystery." Another angel who was with me spoke it to me, revealing what was hidden, the beginning and the end above the heavens and under the earth, the depth at the extremities of the heavens, and in its foundations and in the reservoirs of the winds, how the winds are divided, how they are weighed, and how at their doors the winds are recorded according to their strength, and the power of the light of the moon, how power is assigned to it and the distinction between the stars according to their names, and how they are subdivided and classified, and the thunder in the places where it roars, and all the distinction made between the flashes, so that they shine, and between their hosts, so that they obey quickly. The thunder pauses while it awaits its echo. Thunder and lightning are inseparable, united by the Spirit and not separated. For when the lightning shines, the thunder makes its voice heard, and the Spirit calms it while it thunders and is evenly distributed between the two. Heaven have received a command, power, one voice, and a light like fire. To him, with his first words, they blessed him, exalted him, and praised him with wisdom, and they were wise in word and spirit of life. The Lord of Spirits has placed the elect on the throne of glory, and he will judge all the works of the saints, and their actions will be weighed in the balance when he lifts his head to judge their secret lives, according to the word of the name of the Lord of Spirits. Their way is by the way of the just judgment of the Lord of Spirits. So with one voice they will speak, bless, glorify, exalt, and proclaim holy, the name of the Lord of spirits. He will summon all the armies of the heavens, all the saints, the armies of God, the cherubim, the seraphim, the ophanims, all the angels of power, all the angels of principalities, and the elect, and the other powers on the earth and water. On that day they will raise one voice, bless, praise, and exalt, in the spirit of fidelity, in the spirit of wisdom, in the spirit of patience, in the spirit of mercy, in the spirit of justice, in the spirit of peace, and in the spirit of truth. They will say with one voice, Blessed be he, and blessed be the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. All those who do not sleep in the high heaven will bless him. All the saints who are in heaven will bless you. All the chosen ones who dwell in the garden of life, and every spirit of light capable of blessing, praising, exalting, and proclaiming your name holy. All flesh will glorify and bless your name beyond measure, for great is the mercy of the Lord of spirits. He is patient, and has revealed all his works and all his creation to the righteous and the chosen in the name of the Lord of spirits. Chapter 62. Thus the Lord commanded the kings, the mighty, the dignitaries, and all those who live on the earth, saying, Open your eyes and lift your heads, in case you are able to recognize the elect. The Lord of spirits sat on his throne of glory. The spirit of justice spread over him, and the word from his mouth exterminated all sinners and the unjust. None of them will stand before him on that day. All kings, the mighty, and those who rule the earth will rise, see him, and recognize him when he sits on the throne of his glory. Justice will be judged before him, and no vain word will be spoken before him. Pain will come upon them like a woman in difficult labor when her child comes through the opening of the basin and suffers to be born. They will look at each other terrified, lower their eyes, and fear will seize them when they see this Son of Man sitting on the throne of his glory. Kings, the mighty, and all those who rule the earth will bless, praise, and exalt him who reigns over all that is secret. For since the beginning the Son of Man has been hidden, and the Most High has preserved him in the midst of his power, and revealed him to the chosen, to the assembly of the chosen and the saints. All the chosen will stand on that day, but kings, the mighty, the dignitaries, and those who rule the earth will fall before him on their faces, worship him, and place their hope in this Son of Man, supplicate him. But they will not be preserved from descending into the midst of the weight of death. Then their faces will be full of darkness and shame before the Son of Man. They will be driven from his presence, and the sword will remain before their faces. Then the Lord of spirits said, Such is the sentence and judgment concerning the mighty, the kings, the dignitaries, and those who rule the earth before the Lord of spirits. Chapter 64. After that I saw other hidden figures in that place. I heard the voice of an angel saying, These are the watchers who descended to the earth and revealed to humans what was secret, leading them to sin. Chapter 65. In those days Noah saw that the earth was threatened with ruin, and its destruction was imminent. He left there and went to the ends of the earth. He cried out bitterly to his grandfather Enoch, and told him 3 times with a bitter voice, Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. I said to him, Tell me what is happening on the earth, so that I suffer such great anguish and trembling. Perhaps I will perish with it. After that, there was a great shaking on the earth, and then a voice came from heaven, and I fell on my face. Enoch, my grandfather, came and stood by me. He said to me, Why did you cry out with bitterness and tears? Then an order was issued from the presence of the Lord of spirits upon those who live on the earth, so that their destruction would be accomplished. For all have known the mysteries of the watchers, all the violence of the Satans, all their secret powers, the power of sorceries, the power of witches, and the power of those who make metal objects for the whole earth. Like silver comes from the dust of the earth, like tin comes from the earth. But lead and bronze are not produced by the earth like the former, but there is a source that produces them, and there is a prominent angel who remains there. Then my grandfather Enoch took me by the hand, raised me, and said to me, Go, for I have asked the Lord of spirits about this earthquake. He told me that his judgment has been determined because of their injustice, and will never be stopped by me. For the spells they have sought and learned, the earth and those who dwell in it will. be destroyed. As for these angels, there will be no place for their repentance, because they have revealed what was secret, and they are cursed. But as for you, my son, the Lord of spirits knows that you are pure and blameless concerning the secrets. He has designated your name among the saints and will preserve you among those who live on the earth. He has destined your lineage for royalty and great honors. From your descendants will be born a source of countless righteous and saints forever. Chapter 66. Afterward, he showed me the angels of punishment who were ready to come and release the force of the waters under the earth. The Lord of spirits commanded the angels who came out not to raise the waters, but to hold them, for these angels were responsible for the power of the waters. Then I withdrew from the presence of Enoch. Chapter 67. In those days, the word of the Lord of the universe came to me, and he said, Noah, your destiny has reached me, a destiny without return, a destiny of love and righteousness. Now, the angels are building a house of wood, and when their task is finished, I will stretch out my hand over it and preserve it. The seed of life will sprout from it, and there will be a change so that the earth does not remain uninhabited. I will establish your lineage before me forever. I will spread those who live with you, and it will not be barren but blessed and multiplied on the surface of the earth, in the name of the Lord. He will imprison the watchers who have shown their injustice in this burning valley that my grandfather Enoch showed me to the west, near the mountains of gold, silver, iron, tin, and lead. I saw this valley, where there was great disturbance and agitation of the waters. When all this happened, from that burning and molten metal, and from the commotion at that place, there was a smell of sulfur mixed with the waters. This valley, where the watchers who had seduced humanity burn under the earth in its valleys, rivers of fire flow from them, where these watchers are punished and those who dwell on the earth. These waters will serve in those days for kings, the mighty, dignitaries, and those who dwell on the earth for the health of the body and the punishment of the spirit. But their spirit is filled with greed, and their flesh will be punished because they have rejected the Lord of spirits. They will be punished daily, yet they will not believe in the Lord of spirits, as much as their bodies are severely burned. A change will occur in their minds forever and ever, for no one prefers a vain word before the Lord of spirits, as judgment will come upon them, because they believe in the desire of their flesh and reject the Spirit of the Lord. In those days there was a change in these waters, for when the watchers are punished in them, the water sources change temperature, and when the angels rise, the waters become cold. Today I heard Michael speak and say, This judgment in which the watchers are condemned is a testimony for the kings and the mighty who rule the earth, for these waters of punishment bring health to the bodies of kings and heal the lust of their flesh. However, they do not believe or see that these waters will change and become a burning fire eternally. Chapter 68. After this, my grandfather Enoch explained to me all the mysteries in a book and the parables that had been given to him, and he gathered them for me in the words of the Book of Parables. On that day Michael spoke and said to Raphael, The power of the Spirit transports me and makes me tremble because of the severity of the judgment, for the secrets and the punishment of the angels. Who can endure the rigorous sentence that has been executed, and before which they disintegrate? Michael spoke again and said to Raphael, There is someone whose heart has not been touched by this, and whose kidneys are not troubled by this preferred sentence against those who have been rejected. But it happened that when Michael appeared before the Lord of Spirits, he said to Raphael, I will not defend their cause before the Lord, for the Lord of Spirits is furious against them, because they have behaved as if they were the Lord. Therefore everything secret will come against them forever and ever, for neither an angel nor a human will receive their share, but they have received their sentences forever and ever. Chapter 69. After this judgment, they will be filled with amazement and tremble, because they have revealed what was destined for humans who inhabit the earth. Here are the names of these watchers, the one who was the chief, and in order in relation to him: Arkatoff, Ramael, Kokabel, Ramael, Daniel, Ezekiel, Barakuel, Asael, Harmony, Matrael, Anael, Satuel, San Misiel, Sariel, Tumiel, Turiel, Yomiel, and Javiel. And here are the names of their angels, chiefs of hundreds and thousands. The first is Chekon. This one incited all the children of heaven and made them descend to earth and seduced them with the daughters of men. The name of the second is Asbel. This one gave bad advice to the children of heaven and led them to corrupt themselves with the daughters of men. The name of the third is Gabriel. This one showed the daughters of men all forms of killing. He seduced Eve and taught the children of men shields, armor, combat swords, and all weapons of death. Since him, they have acted against those who live on earth, from that day and for all generations. The name of the fourth is Panemuel. This one showed the daughters of men bitterness and sweetness, and revealed to them all the secrets of his wisdom. He taught humans to write with ink and papyrus, and many have gone astray because of this, from the beginning until this day. For humans were not brought into the world to strengthen their faith in ink and paper, but humans were created with the intention of living pure and righteous, so that destructive death could not reach them. But because of this knowledge, his power devours me. The name of the fifth is Castaliel. This one showed the children of men all the plagues of spirits and demons, the plague of the embryo in the womb to cause abortions, the bite of the serpent, and I will translate the rest of the text into English. The plague that occurs with the heat of noon, the son of the serpent whose name is Tabayet, is the task of Casabel. He showed the saints the chief of the oath, whose name is Vikia. This one asked Michael to reveal to him the secret name, so that he could mention it in the oath. For those who reveal to the children of men everything that is secret tremble before this name. Behold, the power of this oath is strong and mighty, and it disposed this oath to fall into the hands of Michael. These are the secrets of this oath. They are strong in their oath, and the heaven was suspended before the world was created. Therefore, the earth was founded on the water, and beautiful waters come from the depths of the mountains. From the creation of the world to eternity. Thanks to this oath, the sea was created, and for its establishment in the time of anger, it gave its sand, and it dares not exceed its limits. Since the creation of the world to eternity, because of this oath, the depths are firm and stable, and do not move from their place, from eternity to eternity. Because of this oath, the sun and the moon follow their path without disobeying their laws from eternity to eternity. Because of this oath, the stars follow their course, he calls them by their name, and they respond to him from eternity to eternity. Likewise for the spirits of water, winds, and all breezes, from all regions of the earth where the voice of thunder and the light of lightning are preserved, and where the deposits of hail, frost, snow, rain, and dew are preserved. All these are faithful and thank before the Lord of spirits, and praise him with all their might. Their sustenance is all thanksgiving, and they thank, praise, and exalt the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. This oath is powerful, and through it its ways are preserved, and its course will not be destroyed. And there was great joy among them. They blessed, praised, and exalted the Lord, because the name of this Son of Man had been revealed to them. He sat on the throne of his glory, and the supreme judgment was given to the Son of Man, and he expelled and destroyed the sinners from the face of the earth. And those who misled the world will be bound with chains, and where they had been gathered for destruction, they will be imprisoned, and all their works will disappear from the face of the earth. From that moment, nothing will corrupt, for this Son of Man has appeared and sat on the throne of his glory. All wickedness will depart from his presence, and the word of this Son of Man will come out and be strengthened before the Lord of spirits. This is the third parable of Enoch, chapter 70. And it happened after that, his name was lifted up in life toward this Son of Man and toward the Lord of spirits, far from those who live on earth. And he was lifted up on the chariot of the Spirit, and the name disappeared among them. From that day he was no longer counted among them, and he made me sit between two regions, between the north and the west, where the angels had taken ropes to measure the place for the chosen and the righteous. There I saw the first parents and the righteous who inhabit this place, chapter 71. And it happened then that my spirit was transported and ascended to the heavens, and I saw the sons of God. They walked on flames of fire, their clothes were white, and their faces shone like crystal. I saw 2 rivers of fire. The light of this fire shone like hyacinth, and I fell on my face before the Lord of spirits. The angel Michael took me by the right hand, lifted me up, and led me inside all the mysteries. He revealed to me the secrets of the righteous, the limits of heaven, and all the deposits of the stars, luminaries, where they are born before the saints. He transported my spirit into the heaven of heavens, and I saw that there was a construction of crystal there, and between these crystals, tongues of bright fire. My spirit saw a circle of fire surrounding this construction, and at its four corners there were fountains of bright fire. Around it there were seraphim, cherubim, and ophanims. These do not sleep and watch over the throne of their glory. I saw countless angels, thousands and thousands, myriads and myriads surrounding this construction, and Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Ariel, and a multitude of countless saints, partis de la lumière, the sky. At that time the night is of 11 parts and the day of 7. The sun that comes out during this period by this second gate and sets in the west by the second gate returns to the east by the first gate for 31 mornings, then sets in the west by the first gate of the sky. At that time, the night has lengthened until it is twice as long as the day. The night is exactly 12 parts, and the day 6. The sun, after going through the sections of its orbit, returns again on them, and enters through each of its gates for 30 mornings, then sets in the west opposite. Then the night decreases by a part of its duration. The night is of 11 parts, and the day of 7. The sun has returned, entered by the second gate to the east, and went through the sections of its orbit for 30 mornings, rising and hiding. At that time, the duration of the night decreases, amounting to 10 parts, and the day 8. Then the sun rises by the second gate, sets in the west, returns to the east, and rises by the third gate for 31 mornings, then sets in the west of the sky. At that time, the night has been shortened. It is of 9 parts, and the day of 9 parts. The night is equal to the day, and the year has exactly 364 days. The duration of the day and night, as well as the shortening of the day or night, are indicated by the course of the sun. Thus, during this journey, the day lengthens and the night decreases. This is the law of the course of the sun and its return, according to which it comes back and rises 60 times, this great light called the sun, for ages and ages. What rises is this great light, named according to its own aspect, as ordered by the Lord. Just as it rises, it sets without decreasing or resting, but by traveling the day and the night, and its light shines 7 times more than that of the moon, although observing both, they have an equivalent size. Chapter 73. After this law, I saw another law concerning the small light named the moon. Its circumference is like that of the sky, and the chariot on which it rises, and the light given to it in measure, and each month its days change like the days of the sun. And when its light is full, it is the 7th part of the sunlight. Thus it rises in its first phase on the 30th day from the side of the east, and at the moment it appears it is the beginning of the month for you. On the 30th day, simultaneously when the sun is at the gate by which it rises, it is visible at half of the 7th part. All its circumference is void of light, except for the half of the 7th part, which is the 14th of its light. And when it receives half of this 7th part of light, its light increases to half of the 7th part. It sets with the sun, and at the birth of the sun, the moon is born with it and receives half of a 7th part of light. That evening, at the beginning of its morning, the moon hides with the sun and is invisible that night. At its 14th or in the middle of the 7th part, it is born at that exact moment with the 7th part goes out, and leans towards the birth of the sun, and for the rest of its days, it manages to shine in the other 13 parts. Chapter 74. I saw another course, a law for it, as by this law the movement of its months is completed. All of this was shown to me by Uriel, the holy angel, whose chief of all the others noted their position as he revealed it to me, and noted their months as they are, as well as the appearance of their light until 15 days have passed in each 7th part. It achieves its light in the east and its darkness in the west in some months. It alters its appearances, and in some months it follows its own course. There are 2 months when the moon hides with the sun by the 2 gates that are in the middle, the 3rd and the 4th. It goes out for 7 days, turns, and returns through the gate through which the sun goes out. When the sun goes out through the 7th gate, it goes out for 7 days, until it is born through the 5th gate, turns and returns again for 7 days through the 4th gate. It completes all its light, withdraws, and enters through the 1st gate for 8 days. It returns for 7 days through the 4th gate through which the sun goes out. Thus I saw its position, how the moon goes out, and the sun sets during these days. If we add 5 years, the sun has an excess of 30 days, and all the days added to one of these 5 years when completed total 364 days. The surplus of the sun and the stars is 6 days in 5 years, which is 6 days per year, totaling 30 days, and the moon lacks 30 days compared to the sun and the stars. The sun and the stars complete the year exactly, as long as they do not advance or retreat by a single day for all eternity, and complete the years with perfect justice, each 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days, in 5 years 1820 days, and in 8 years 2912 days. But for the moon alone, its days in 3 years reach 10 to 62, and in 5 years it lacks 50 days. It has in 5 years 17 to 70 days, and thus for the moon during 8 years 20 to 32 days, all that lives there. The first wind from the east through the 1st gate of the east inclines towards the south. From there come out destruction, dryness, heat, and desolation. Through the 2nd gate comes out the wind from the east, which brings rain, fruits, revival, and dew. Through the 3rd gate it comes out the wind from the northwest, close to the north wind, cold and dry. Behind them, through the 3 gates of the south of the heavens, first through the 1st gate, a south wind comes out located to the south and east, a warm wind. Through the 2nd gate comes out a south wind called south dew, rain, well-being, revival. Through the 3rd gate comes out a southwest wind, dew, rain, locusts, and destruction. After this comes out a north wind, coming from the 7th gate towards the east, with dew, rain, locusts, and desolation. From the middle gate comes out directly a wind with health, rain, dew, and prosperity. Through the 3rd gate, which inclines towards the west, comes out a wind with clouds, frost, snow, rain, dew, and locusts. After these are the winds from the west. Through the 1st gate inclined towards the north comes out a wind with dew, frost, cold, snow, and frost. Through the middle gate comes out a wind with dew, rain, prosperity, and blessing. Through the last gate inclined towards the south comes out a wind with scarcity, ruin, burning, and desolation. The 12 gates of the 4 cardinal points of the heavens are completed. I have shown you their complete explanation, O my son, Methuselah. Chapter 77. The east is called Orient because it is the first. The south is called South because there resides the great, and in it resides the one blessed forever. The great cardinal point is called West because there go the stars of the heavens, there they set and there they hide. Therefore it is called West. The north is called North because there the stars of the heavens hide, gather, and return, and they move towards the east of the heavens. The east is called Rising because from there the celestial bodies rise, and from there they ascend. I saw 3 sections of the earth, one for the children of men to dwell, one for all the oceans and rivers, and one for the 7 and for the paradise of justice. I saw 7 mountains on the earth, taller than all the mountains of the earth. They are covered with snow, and from them come the days, the seasons, and the years. I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all rivers. One of them comes from the west, and its waters flow into the great sea. 2 others come from the north towards the sea, and their waters flow into the sea of Eritrean. The other 4 come out from the northern side, each to its own ocean. 2 of them to the sea of Eritrean, and 2 into the great sea. I saw 7 great islands in the sea and on the mainland, 2 towards the mainland and 5 in the high sea. Chapter 78. The names of the sun are as follows. The first is Oranjes, and the second Thomas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Asonia, the second Evela, the third Venace, and the 4th Era. These are the 2 great luminaries. Their circumference is like that of the sky, and the size of their 2 circumferences is similar. In the circumference of the sun, 7 parts of light are added to it compared to the moon, and with a full measure it is transferred to it until the 7th part, extracted from the sun. They set and enter through the gates of the west, make their circuit by the north, and return through the gates of the east on the face of the heavens. When the moon rises, half of a 7th part of its light shines in the heavens to appear on the earth. It grows complete day by day until the 14th day, when all its light is complete, according to the sign of the years. The moon grows and achieves its phases in fractions of a 7th. During its waning phase, the moon decreases its light. On the first day, 1/14th, on the second, a 13th, on the third, a 12th, on the fourth, an 11th, on the 5th, a 10th, on the 6th, a 9th, on the 7th, an 8th, on the 8th, a 7th, on the 9th, a 6th, on the 10th, a 5th, on the 11th, a quarter, on the 12th, a third, on the 13th, a half, and on the 14th half of a 7th until on the 15th all remaining light disappears. Some months have 29 days, and sometimes 28 days. Uriel taught me another calculation, showing me when the light is transferred to the moon, and from which side it is transferred. During the entire waxing phase of the moon, its light is transferred in front of the sun for 14 days, until it is fully illuminated, and its brilliance is complete in the heavens. The first day is called the new moon because from that day its light grows until it becomes a full moon exactly when the sun sets in the west, and it stretches out from the east through the night, and the moon shines all night until the sun rises before it. The moon is observed opposite the sun from the side from which the moonlight arrives, and thus it decreases again until all its light disappears. The days of the month are completed, and its circumference is empty without light for 3 months. It appears for 30 days, and during its time it appears for 3 months of 29 days, each in which it accomplishes its waning phase in the first period of time and in the first gate for 177 days. During its birth time, it appears for 3 months of 30 days each, and for 3 months it appears for 29 days each. During the night it appears for 20 days each month. Chapter 79. My son, I have already taught you all that needs to be known, and the law of all the stars of the heavens has concluded. He taught me all their laws for all the days, for all the ongoing seasons, for all the years and their completion, for the prescribed order of all the months and weeks, for 20 days each month, and the waning of the moon that starts through the 6th gate, in which its light is completed, which happens in the first gate in its time and ends at 177 days, or counted in weeks, 25 weeks, and 2 days. It is exactly behind by 5 days in the course of a period compared to the sun and the order of the stars. And when this happens, it is corrected, seeming like the image of a vision when its light is behind. When it is at its highest in the night, this vision appears like a man in the night, appearing as the image of the sun in the sky, and there is nothing in it but its light. Such is the vision and image of all the luminaries that Uriel, the great angel, showed me. Chapter 80. In those days, Uriel spoke to me and said, Look, I have revealed everything to you, Enoch. I have taught you everything so that you may see this sun, this moon, the guides of the stars of the heavens, and all those that make them traverse and their tasks, their times and their exits. In the days of sinners the years will be shortened, and their seed will come late into their lands and fields. All things on the earth will be altered, and will not come out at their due time. Rain will be withheld, and the heavens will retain it. In that time the fruits of the earth will be held back, they will not grow in time. The fruits of the trees will be delayed. The moon will alter its order, and will not appear at its due time. In those days the sun will be seen in the sky, burning, extending sterility, and will travel by night over the boundary of the great chariot of the west, shining more than what corresponds to the order of its light. Many guides of the stars will transgress the order, will alter their orbits and tasks, and will not appear at the appointed time for them. All the laws of the stars were hidden from the sinners. The thoughts of those who live on earth will be erroneous about this, and they will err in their ways, taking the stars for gods. Evil will multiply upon them, and punishment will come to annihilate them all. Chapter 81. He said to me, "Look at these celestial tablets, read what is written on them, and note every detail." I looked at the celestial tablets, read everything written on them, and understood it all. I read the book of all the actions of humanity and all the children of flesh who are on earth, even to distant generations. Immediately I blessed the great Lord, King of glory for eternity, for he made all the creatures of the universe. At the same time I blessed the Lord for his patience, and I blessed him for the sons of Adam. Then I said, "Blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and goodness, against whom no unjust book has been written, and such a book will not be found on the day of judgment." These 7 saints took me and placed me on earth before the door of my house, and they said to me, "Make all this known to Methuselah, your son. Teach all his children that no fleshly being is righteous before the Lord, for he is their creator. We will leave you a year with your son to give your instructions, to teach your son to write for them what you have seen, and bear witness to all your children. Then in the 2nd year you will be separated from them. Let your heart be strong, for the good will announce justice to the good, the righteous will rejoice with the righteous, and congratulate each other. However, the sinner will die with the sinner, and the apostate will sink with the apostate. Those who practice righteousness will die by the hands of men, and will be taken away because of the actions of the wicked. In those days they finished speaking to me, and I returned with my people, blessing the Lord of the universe. Chapter 82. My son. Methuselah. I now transmit all these things to you. I have revealed everything to you, and have given you the books concerning them. Preserve, my son Methuselah, the book from your father's hand, hand it over to the generations of the world. I have given you wisdom, to you and your children, so that they may pass it on to their children through generations. This wisdom is beyond their thoughts. Those who understand it will not sleep, but will lend an ear to learn this wisdom, and those who consume it will value it more than a delicacy. Happy are all the righteous. Happy are those who walk the path of righteousness, and do not sin like the sinners. In the calculation of days, when the sun travels through the heavens, and enters and exits through each gate for 30 days with the chiefs of thousands of species of stars, adding the 4 days that are intercalated, to separate the 4 parts of the year which guide them, and enter with them 4 days, men err and do not count them in the complete count of the year. They are in error and do not recognize it correctly, for they are included in the calculation of years, and are truly assigned forever, one to the 1st gate, another to the 3rd, another to the 4th, and another to the 6th. And the year is complete in 364 days. Their calculation is correct, and their recorded account is exact of the luminaries, months, feasts, years, and days. Uriel showed and revealed it to me. He is subordinate to the Lord of the creation of the armies of the heavens. He has power over the night and the day, to shine the light on humans, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the powers of the heavens that rotate on their orbits. This is the law of the stars in relation to their constellations, their new moons, and their signs. Here are the names of those who guide them, who watch them to enter at their time, in order, in their season, their month, in their period, with their power and in their position. These are their 4 guides who divide the 4 parts of the year. First, the 12 chiefs of the class who separate the months, and for the 360 days, there are the chiefs of 1,000 dividing the days. And for the 4 that are intercalated, there are those who, as guides, divide the 4 parts of the year. The chiefs of 1,000 are intercalated between guide and guide, each after a season that their guides separate. Here are the names of the guides who separate the 4 parts of the year that have been fixed: Melchiel, Elmeach, Meliel, and Narel, and the names of those who direct them: Asnael, Suzael, and Ilumel. These follow the chiefs of the class of stars, and there is another who comes after the 3 chiefs of the class who follow the guides of the seasons that separate the 4 seasons of the year. At the beginning of the year rises first Melchiel, called Tamini and Sun, and all the days of his reign, over which he rules, are 91 days. Here are the signs of the days that appear on earth during his reign: heat, sweat, and calm. All trees bear fruit, and leaves grow on them. Wheat, millet blossoms, but the winter trees eventually wither. Here are the names of the chiefs who are over them, Berka and Attalai, and another chief of 1,000 named Hill, with whom the days of his reign end. Then, the next guide is Geli Melech, called Shining Sun, and the total days of his light are 91 days. Here are the signs of his days on earth: scorching heat, heat and drought. All fruits of trees that produce all their ripe fruits are harvested. Sheep mate and conceive. All fruits of the earth, everything in the field, is pressed to make wine. This happens during the days of his reign. Here are the names of the chiefs of 1,000. Guida Yael and Asphael is added to him, during which the days of his reign end. The Book of Dreams. Chapter 83. Now, Methuselah, my son, I will disclose to you all the visions I have had, and will summarize them for you. I had 2 visions before getting married, one very different from the other. The first, when I learned to write, and the second, before taking your mother. I had a terrible vision when, Oraim the Lord, I was lying in the house of my grandfather Mahalalel, and I saw a vision where the sky collapsed, detached, and fell on earth. When it fell on earth, I saw the earth swallowed by a great abyss, mountains suspended above mountains, hills lowered onto hills, and the great trees, separated from their trunks, thrown and hurled into the abyss. Then one fell into my mouth, and I raised my voice to cry out and said, "The earth is destroyed." Then my grandfather Mahalalel awakened me, but I remained lying near him. He said to me, "Why do you cry out like this, my son? Why do you prefer such lamentation?" I recounted to him the entire vision I had seen, and he said to me, "Just as you saw a terrible thing, my son. For terrible is the vision of your dreams, concerning the mysteries of all the sins of the earth, so the earth is on the brink of being swallowed by the abyss and annihilated by great destruction. Now, my son, arise and pray to the Lord of glory, for you are faithful, that there may remain a remnant on earth, and that he may not completely annihilate the earth. My son, all this will come from heaven onto earth, and there will be great ruin on earth." After rising, I prayed, pleaded, and supplicated. I wrote my prayer for the generations of the world, and I will show you all these things, Methuselah, my son. When I descended, I looked at the sky and saw the sun rising in the east and the moon hiding in the west, and some stars over the entire earth and all the things he created from the beginning. Then I blessed the Lord of judgment and praised him, for he brings out the sun through the windows of the east, so that it rises and shines in the sky, and that it goes and stays according to the path he has taught it. Chapter 84. I lifted my hands in righteousness, and blessed the Holy and the Great One. I spoke with the breath of my mouth, and with the tongue of flesh that God gave to the children of humanity to use in speaking. He gave them breath, a tongue and a mouth, so that they might speak with them. Blessed be the Lord, the great and mighty King, in your greatness, King of kings, Lord of all the universe. Your power, your reign, and your greatness endure forever, your reign for all generations. The heavens are your eternal throne, and the earth is the footstool of your feet, for all eternity, because you created and govern all things. There is no work too difficult for you. Wisdom does not depart from your throne, nor does it stray from your presence. You know, see, and hear all things. Nothing is hidden from you, for you see everything. Now, the angels of heaven are guilty of sin, and upon the flesh of man falls your wrath until the great day of judgment. Now, O God, Lord and great King, I plead and implore that you accept my prayer, that you leave a lineage on the earth, that you do not completely annihilate all human flesh, that you do not empty the earth, and that the destruction is not eternal. Now, O Lord, exterminate from the earth the flesh that has aroused your wrath, but establish the flesh of justice and righteousness as an eternal seed plant, and do not hide your face from the prayer of your servant, O Lord. Chapter 85. After this I had another dream, and I will show you all this dream, my son. Enoch raised his voice and spoke to his son Methuselah. I want to speak to you, my son. Listen to my words, and pay attention to the vision of your father's dream before taking your mother Edna. I saw a vision in my bed, and behold, a bull came out of the earth, and this bull was white. After the bull, a cow came out, and with her 2 calves, one was black and the other red. Then the black calf struck the red one and chased it over the earth, and from then on I could not see this red calf. Later the black calf grew, and this cow went with him, and I saw many oxen coming out of him who resembled him and followed him. And this first cow moved away from the first bull to look for the red calf, but did not find it. She pushed for it a great lamentation and searched for it. I saw the first bull come and silence her, and she cried no more. She then gave birth to another white bull, and after that gave birth to many black bulls and cows. Well, my dream grew for this white bull until it became a great white bull, from which many white bulls like him came out. And they began to breed many white bulls who resembled and followed one another. Chapter 86. Once again I fixed my eyes on the dream and saw the sky above. And behold, a star fell from the sky among the great bulls. It ate and grazed among them. Then I saw these great black bulls all exchanging their pastures, stables and cows, and they began to live with each other. I observed again in my dream and looked toward the sky. And behold, many stars were descending and falling from the sky among the first star. And they were transformed into bulls among these calves and grazed with them and among them. I watched them and saw how all of them brought out their genitals like horses and mounted the cows of the bulls. All were fertilized and gave birth to elephants, camels, and donkeys. All the bulls feared them, were terrified of them, and began to bite with their teeth, devour and strike the other bulls. And behold, all the sons of the earth began to tremble and frighten each other and flee. Chapter 87. Once again I saw how they began to strike each other and devour. The earth began to cry out. Then I lifted my eyes again to the sky and had a vision. Behold, beings like white men came out of the sky. 4 came out from that place, and 3 with them. Then these last 3 took me by the hand and led me above the earthly generation to a high place, and they showed me a tall tower built on the earth. All the hills were lower. They said to me, "Stay here until you have seen all that will happen to these elephants, camels, donkeys, stars, and all these things." Chapter 88. I saw one of the 4 who came out first seize the first star fallen from the sky, bind it by the feet and hands, and throw it into a deep, narrow, steep, and dark abyss. Then one of them took out a sword and gave it to the elephants, camels, and donkeys, and they began to injure each other. The whole earth trembled because of this. I continued to observe my dream, and behold, one of the 4 who came out received an order from heaven. He took all the numerous stars, whose genitals were like those of horses, tied them all by the feet and hands, and threw them into an abyss of the earth. Chapter 89. One of the 4 went to one of the white bulls and taught him. He built for himself a boat and dwelt in it. The 3 bulls entered with him into the boat, which was covered and topped above them. I looked and saw 7 streams pour much water on the earth. Behold, the water reservoirs inside the earth opened and began to gush, and the waters rose. I continued to watch until the earth was covered with water, darkness, and fog hovering above it. The bulls were submerged, carried away, and destroyed in these waters, but the boat floated on the waters. However, all the bulls, wild donkeys, camels, and elephants sank into the waters. I saw in my dream how the streams disappeared from the high roof. The cracks of the earth were leveled, but other abysses opened, and the water began to descend through them until the earth was uncovered. The boat rested on the earth, the darkness withdrew, and the light appeared. Then the white bull that had become a man came out of that boat, and with him the 3 bulls. One was white and resembled that bull, another was red as blood, and another was black. They began to breed wild beasts and birds. There was a multitude of all kinds: lions, leopards, dogs, wolves, wild boars, foxes, squirrels, wild goats, hawks, vultures, eagles, and ravens. In their midst was born another white bull, and they began to bite each other. The white bull born among them begot a wild donkey and also a white calf. The wild donkey multiplied, and the white calf begotten by the white bull begot a black boar and a white ram. The boar begot many boars, and the ram begot 12 sheep. When these 12 sheep had grown, they gave one of them to the wild donkeys, but these donkeys in turn gave this sheep to the wolves, and the sheep grew among the wolves. The ram guided the 11 sheep to live and graze with him among the wolves, and they multiplied and turned into a flock of many sheep. The wolves began to oppress the flock until they destroyed their young and cast them into a flowing stream. Then the sheep began to cry for their young and lament before their Lord. One sheep that had escaped the wolves fled and went to the wild donkeys. I observed while the flock complained and cried terribly, until the Lord of the flock descended at the voice of the sheep from his high sanctuary, came to their side, and gathered them to call them. He called the sheep that had escaped from the wolves, and spoke to her about the wolves to intimidate them from touching the sheep any more. This sheep went to the wolves on the order of the Lord, and another sheep joined her. They both went together to the assembly of the wolves on the Lord's order, spoke to them, and warned them not to touch the sheep any more. Since then I have observed that the wolves oppressed the sheep more severely with all their might, and the sheep cried loudly. Their Lord stood by the sheep's side and began to strike those wolves. The wolves began to lament while the sheep began to calm down and stopped crying. I saw the sheep depart from among the wolves, and the eyes of the wolves were darkened. These wolves pursued the sheep with all their might, but the Lord of the sheep was with them, guiding them, and all his sheep followed him. His face was shining, glorious, and terrible to behold. The wolves began to pursue these sheep until they reached them near a water pool. But this pool divided, and the water rose from both sides before them. The Lord led them and positioned himself between them and the wolves. As these wolves no longer saw the sheep, they walked in the middle of this pool, and the wolves pursued them, running after them in this pool of water. When they saw the Lord of the sheep, they turned back to flee from his presence, but this pool of water suddenly closed and resumed its natural position, filling with water. I continued to watch until all the wolves that were pursuing this flock perished, drowned, and the waters covered them. The flock moved away from these waters and went to a desolate place where there was neither water nor grass, and their eyes opened, and they saw. I watched until the Lord of the flock made them graze, gave them water and grass. The sheep rose to the top of a high rock, and the Lord of the flock sent her into the midst of the flock, and they all stood apart. Then I saw the Lord of the flock standing before the flock. His presence was mighty, majestic, and terrible, and all the flock saw him and were afraid of him. They were all afraid and trembling before him, and they cried to the Lamb who was the second and was among them, "We cannot stand before the Lord." So the Lamb who led them turned around and ascended a second time to the top of that rock. However, the flock began to become blind and stray from the path that had been shown to them, and the Lamb did not know these things. The Lord of the flock became very angry with the flock. The Lamb knew it, and descended from the top of that rock to go to the flock. He found most of them blinded and misguided, and when they saw him, they began to fear before him, wanting to return to their enclosures. The Lamb took with him other sheep and came to the flock. They slaughtered all those who had gone astray and began to tremble before him. Then the Lamb brought back all the lost sheep to their enclosures. I continued to see this dream until this Lamb transformed into a great number, building a camp for the Lord of the flock, and leading all the flock to this camp. I continued to watch until this sheep that had joined the Lamb leading the sheep fell asleep. I observed until all the older sheep perished and were replaced by younger ones. They entered a pasture and approached a river. Then the sheep that was guiding them, now human, was separated from them, fell asleep, and all the sheep searched for her and cried for her with great sobs. I saw until they finished weeping for this sheep. After crossing that river, other sheep came to guide them in place of those who had fallen asleep. After guiding them, I saw the sheep enter a beautiful region on pleasant and splendid land. I continued to see these sheep until they were satisfied, and this camp was among them on this pleasant land. As soon as they opened their eyes, they were blinded until another sheep rose to guide them, and once their eyes were open, dogs, foxes, and wild boars began to devour these sheep. The Lord of the sheep raised a ram among them to guide them. This ram began to attack the dogs, foxes, and wild boars until it killed all of them. The sheep whose eyes had been opened saw that the ram who was in the midst of the sheep was relinquishing his glory and started to charge, trample, or behave inappropriately. Then the Lord of the sheep sent another lamb to become a ram and guide the sheep in place of the one who had relinquished his glory. He stood by his side, spoke to him secretly, made him ascend as a ram, appointed him judge and shepherd of the sheep. During all these events, the dogs oppressed the sheep. The first ram chased the second, and the latter left and fled from his presence. But I saw that the dogs struck down this first ram. Then the second ram rose, guided the sheep, begot many sheep, and then fell asleep. A small sheep became a ram in turn and became the judge and leader in his place. These sheep grew and multiplied, and all these dogs, foxes, and wild boars were afraid and fled far away. This ram charged and killed all the wild beasts, and these beasts no longer had power over the sheep, nor led them any more. This house became large and spacious, built by these sheep with a high and tall tower on the house for the Lord of the sheep. The encampment was low, but the tower very high, and the Lord of the sheep stood above. A full table was offered before him. Then I saw these sheep wander again and take many paths, abandoning their house. The Lord of the sheep called among them some sheep and sent them to the others, but these sheep began to kill them. However, one of them was saved and was not killed. She went out and cried because of the sheep, and they wanted to kill her. But the Lord of the sheep saved her from their hands, made her ascend, and dwell near me. Yet he sent many other sheep to these sheep to testify to them and lament over them. Then I saw them leave the house of the Lord and his tower, wander everywhere, and their eyes were closed. I saw the Lord of the sheep commit a great slaughter among them until these sheep caused the carnage and betrayed their position. He left them in the hands of lions, tigers, wolves, hyenas, foxes, and all wild beasts, which began to tear apart these sheep. I began to cry out with all my might and call the Lord of the sheep, showing him that the sheep were being devoured by all the beasts, but he remained unmoved. When he saw them being devoured, engulfed, and robbed, he abandoned them to become the prey of the beasts. He called 70 shepherds and entrusted these sheep to lead them to pasture. He said to the shepherds and their assistants, "From now on, each of you will lead the sheep to graze, and all that I command you, you will do. I will deliver them to you correctly counted, and I will tell you which ones must be destroyed and perish." He entrusted these sheep to them. Then he called another and said to him, "Observe and record everything that the shepherds do to these sheep. If they destroy more than what I have ordered them, record every excess and destruction carried out by the shepherds, how many have been destroyed according to my order, and how many by their own whim. Calculate for each shepherd the destruction they have caused. Then read the result before me. How many have they destroyed, and how many have I delivered for destruction? Let this be a testimony against them, to know every action of the shepherds, that I may evaluate them, and see if they follow what I have commanded them or not." But they were not to know this. You must not tell them or warn them, but simply note each destruction carried out by the shepherds, one by one, immediately, and lay it all before me. Then I saw these shepherds leading the flock, and they began to kill and destroy more sheep than those that had been offered. They delivered these sheep to the lions, which devoured a large portion, and the wild boars ate with them. They burned this tower and demolished this house. I was deeply saddened by this tower, as the house of the sheep was destroyed, and I could no longer see if these sheep entered that house. The shepherds and their accomplices delivered these sheep to all the wild beasts to devour them. Each of them had received a certain number, and this had been noted for each in a book by another. Each destroyed more than what had been prescribed. I began to weep and lament for these sheep. In the vision, I observed the one who was writing, noting each sheep destroyed by these shepherds, day after day. He brought and laid out his entire book, showing the Lord of the sheep everything they had actually done, everything each had done, and all those they had delivered to destruction. The book was read before the Lord of the sheep. He took the book, read it, sealed it, and archived it. Then I saw the shepherds leading the sheep to graze for 12 hours. 3 of these sheep returned, entered, and began to rebuild what had collapsed from the house. But the wild boars prevented them, and they could not continue. They began to build again and raised a tower called the High Tower. They started to place a table before the tower, but all the bread there was contaminated and impure. The eyes of these sheep were blinded and could not see, and neither could their shepherds. He delivered them for an even greater destruction to their shepherds, who trampled and devoured the sheep. The Lord of the sheep remained aloof until all the sheep were scattered in the field and mingled with them. They were not saved from the beast's hands. And then the one who had written the book took it, showed it, and read it before the Lord of the sheep, pleading for them. He showed all the acts of the shepherds and testified against them. He took the current book, placed it near him, and went away. Chapter 90. I observed in this manner until 35 shepherds began to graze, strictly following their towers, each taking charge of the flock to graze during their respective turn. After that, in a vision, I saw all the birds of prey in the sky, eagles, vultures, falcons, and ravens. The eagles guided all these birds and began to devour these sheep, plucking out their eyes and eating their flesh. The sheep cried out as their flesh was devoured by the birds. I watched and lamented in my dream for the shepherd who guided the sheep. I observed until these sheep were devoured by the eagles, falcons, and vultures, leaving them no flesh, skin, or tendons, only their bones. Even the bones eventually fell to the ground, and the sheep became very few. I saw when 23 shepherds had strictly completed their towers 58 times, behold, lambs were born from these white sheep, and opened their eyes to see. They bleated and cried to the sheep, but they could not hear them, as they were extremely deaf and blind, becoming increasingly weak. In my vision I saw the ravens flying around these lambs, catching one, and despising the sheep by devouring them. I observed until the horns of these lambs grew, but the ravens made them fall. I saw a great horn grow on one of these sheep, and its eyes opened. It looked around and cried to the sheep, and the rams saw her and ran to her side. Yet all the eagles, falcons, vultures, and ravens continued to attack the sheep, swooping down on them and devouring them. The sheep remained silent, but the rams cried out and lamented. Then these ravens fought with her, trying to make her lose her horn, but they did not succeed. I then saw the shepherds, the eagles, vultures, and falcons come and cry to the ravens to break the ram's horn. They fought against it, but it defended itself and called for help from all the eagles, vultures, ravens, and falcons who gathered to break the ram's horn. I saw the man who had written the book, by the order of the Lord, open the book regarding the destruction caused by the last 12 shepherds, revealing before the Lord that they had destroyed much more than their predecessors. I saw this man who had noted the shepherds' names and presented them to the Lord of the sheep, who came to the ram's aid. He saved it and showed it everything, living by its side, while the Lord of the sheep, in anger, drove away all who saw him and darkened their presence. I observed the moment when a great sword was given to the sheep, and they attacked all the beasts of the field to kill them. All the beasts and birds fled from their presence. I saw when the Lord of the sheep approached them, took the rod of his anger in his hands, struck the earth, causing it to crack, and all the beasts and birds of the sky fell far from them, swallowed by the earth that closed over them. I saw a throne erected on the pleasant land. The Lord of the sheep sat upon it, and the other took the sealed books and opened them before the Lord of the sheep. The Lord called these white-clad men, the first 7, and ordered them to bring before him the first star that guided all the stars, whose appearance was like that of horses, and they brought them all before him. Then he spoke to the man who was writing before him, one of the 7 white-clad men, and said to him, "Take these 70 shepherds to whom I entrusted the sheep, and after they received them, they slaughtered many more than what had been commanded to them. I saw them all chained, prostrating before him. Judgment fell first on the stars. They were found guilty and sent to the place of condemnation, cast into an abyss full of flames and columns of fire. Then the 70 shepherds were found guilty and thrown into the fiery abyss. At that moment, an abyss opened in the midst of the earth. The blind sheep were taken there, and all were found guilty, cast into that fiery abyss where they burned, in that abyss to the right of that house where the sheep and their bones burned. I arose to see how he dismantled that old house, taking away all its columns, beams, and ornaments of the house, which were removed at the same time and moved to a place south of the earth. I then saw that the Lord of the sheep brought a new house, larger and taller than the first. He placed it on the site of the first house that had been dismantled. All its columns were new, and its ornaments were new and greater than those of the first house. All the remaining sheep were inside. I saw all the remaining sheep, the beasts of the earth and the birds of the sky, bowing to pay homage to these sheep, imploring them and obeying them in all things. Then those 3 men dressed in white, Those who had raised me previously took me by the hand, and the ram also took me by the hand, and they made me ascend and sit among these sheep before the judgment took place. These sheep were all white, their wool was abundant and pure, and all those who had been destroyed or scattered by the beasts of the field and the birds of the sky gathered in this house. The Lord of the sheep rejoiced greatly because all were good and had returned home. I saw when they took that sword given to the sheep, brought it into the house, and sealed it in the presence of the Lord. And all the sheep were invited into this house, although they were too many. Their eyes opened, and they saw clearly. None of them was unable to see. I saw that this house was large, spacious, and completely full. I saw a white bull born, and its horns were large. All the beasts of the field and all the birds of the sky feared him and constantly supplicated him. I saw when all their species were changed and became white bulls, and the first among them transformed into a lamb that became a great bison with 2 large black horns. The Lord of the sheep rejoiced in him and in all the bulls. I slept in the midst of them, and I awoke after having seen everything. Such is the dream I had while I slept, and when I woke up, I blessed the Lord of righteousness and glorified him. Then I wept a lot. My abundant tears could not be restrained. As I looked, my tears flowed over what I saw, for everything will happen and be fulfilled. For one after another, all the acts of men were revealed to me that night. Then I recalled my first dream and wept and felt distressed because of this vision. Book of Weeks, Letter of Enoch. Chapter 91. Now, my son Methuselah, gather around me all your brothers, gather all the sons of your mother, for the word calls me, and the Spirit has been poured out upon me to reveal to you everything that will happen until eternity. So Methuselah went and gathered with all his brothers, and he gathered his kinsfolk. And Enoch spoke to all the sons of righteousness, and said to them, Listen, O sons of Enoch, to all the words of your father, and be attentive to the word of my mouth, for I exhort you, whom I love, to love righteousness, and to walk with it. Do not approach righteousness with a double heart, and do not associate with those who have a double heart. Walk in uprightness, my children, it will guide you on good paths, and righteousness will accompany you. I know that violence increases on the earth, and a great punishment will fall upon it, and all injustice will be exterminated, uprooted, and its structures completely demolished. Injustice will return again to the earth, and all the acts of injustice, oppression, and transgression will be doubled and prevail. But when all kinds of acts of sin, injustice, blasphemy, and violence increase, and apostasy, disobedience, and impurity increase, a great punishment from heaven will come upon the earth. The Holy Lord will come with anger and punishment upon the earth to execute judgment. At that time, violence will be uprooted, as well as injustice and deceit will be destroyed under heaven. All the idols of the nations and their temples will be abandoned, burned by fire, and banished from the whole earth. The righteous will rise from their dreams, wisdom will arise and be given to them, and the earth will rest for all future generations. And now, my sons, I will speak to you to show you all the ways of righteousness and all the ways of violence, and I will show them to you again, so that you know what will happen now. For my children, listen to me and choose the ways of righteousness and reject those of violence, for they lead to complete destruction, all those who follow the path of injustice. Chapter 92. What Enoch wrote and handed over to his son Methuselah, as well as to all those who dwell on the solid ground, to act in goodness and peace. Do not worry about the times, for the great Holy One has given a time for everything. The righteous will rise from sleep and walk on the paths of righteousness. All their ways and words will be of uprightness and grace. He will grant grace to the righteous and give them their eternal justice and power. He will remain in goodness and righteousness, walking with eternal light. On the contrary, sin will be lost in darkness forever and will never reappear from that day to eternity. Chapter 93. Enoch resumed his discourse, speaking of the sons of righteousness and the chosen one of the world, who grew from a plant of truth and justice. I will speak to you and make you know, my children, what I have understood and what has been revealed to me by a heavenly vision and by the voice of the watchers and the saints on the heavenly tablets that I have read and understood." He continued, saying, "I was born in the 7th in the 1st week, at a time when righteousness was still firm. After me will come the 2nd week, where lies and violence will grow. During this time, the first consummation will take place, and then a man will be saved. And when this week is completed, injustice will increase, and God will establish a law for all sinners. Then, towards the end of the 3rd week, a man will be chosen as a plant of judgment, just. After that, he will grow like a plant of justice for eternity. Then, at the end of the 4th week, the visions of the saints and the righteous will appear, and a law will be prepared for generations and generations, with a boundary. Then, at the end of the 5th week, a house of glory and power will be built for eternity. Then, in the 6th week, those who live there will be blinded, and their hearts will turn away from wisdom unfaithfully. Then a man will ascend to heaven, and at the end of that week the house of dominion will be consumed by fire, and the entire lineage of the chosen root will be scattered. Then, in the 7th week, a perverse generation will arise, and many will be their acts. But all will be in error, and at the end of this week, the chosen ones will be chosen as witnesses to the truth of the eternal plant of justice. Wisdom and knowledge will be given to them to execute judgment, uproot the causes of violence, and put an end to the work of falsehood. Then will come the 8th week, that of justice, during which a sword will be given to all the righteous to judge the oppressors who will be delivered into their hands. At the end of this week, the righteous will honestly acquire wealth, and the temple of the royalty of the great will be built in its eternal splendor for all generations. After that, in the 9th week, justice and righteous judgment will be revealed to all the children of all the earth, and all the oppressors will completely disappear from the earth and be cast into the eternal pit. Then all men will see the just and eternal path. Then in the 10th week, in its 7th part, the eternal judgment will take place. It will be the time of the great judgment, and he will execute vengeance among the saints. Then the first heaven will pass away, and a new heaven will appear, and all the powers of the heavens will rise shining eternally 7 times more. And after that, there will be many weeks whose number will never end, during which good and justice will be realized. Sin will never be mentioned again. Who among all humans can hear the words of the saint without being disturbed, understand his commandment from the Lord, or imagine his thoughts? Who among all humans can contemplate all the works of the heavens or the cornerstones on which they rest? Who sees a soul or a spirit and can return to testify, ascend and see all its confines and think or act like them? Who among the sons of men can know and measure the length and width of the entire earth, or to whom have all its dimensions and shape been shown? Who among all humans can know the length of the heavens and their height, or how they are sustained, or how great the number of the stars is? Chapter 94. Now I tell you, my children, love justice and walk in this path, for the ways of righteousness are worthy of acceptance, but the ways of iniquity will be destroyed and disappear. To some children of men will be shown the paths of violence and death, and they will stay away and not follow them. Now I tell you, you righteous ones, do not walk in the ways of evil nor in the ways of death, for you will be destroyed. Instead, seek and choose for yourselves righteousness and choose life. Walk on the paths of peace and you will live and prosper. Keep my words in your thoughts and do not erase them from your hearts. For I know that sinners will try people to seek wisdom with bad intentions to the extent that they will not find it anywhere. No evidence can avoid misfortune for those who build injustice and oppression and consolidate them in falsehood, for they will be suddenly overthrown and there will be no peace for them. Woe to those who build their houses with sin, for all their foundations will be uprooted, and they will fall by the sword. Woe to you, the rich, for you have placed your trust in your wealth. From your wealth you will be stripped, because you did not have memories of the Most High in times of wealth. Those who possess gold and silver will perish suddenly in judgment. You have blasphemed, committed injustice, and are ready for the day of slaughter and darkness for the day of the great judgment. I tell you and announce to you, he who created us will overturn you, and there will be no mercy on your ruin. For your Creator will rejoice in your destruction, and you, the righteous, in those days will be a reproach to sinners and the ungodly. Chapter 95. Oh, if my eyes could be waters and I could weep over you, I would extend my tears like clouds and could soothe my troubled heart. Who has allowed us to commit offenses and practice evil? Judgment will reach the sinners. Do not fear either sinners or the righteous, for the sovereign of the universe will deliver them into your hands, so that you may judge them as you wish. Woe to you who launch anathemas that cannot be broken. The remedy is far from you because of your sins. Woe to you who repay evil to your neighbor, for you will be treated according to your deeds. Woe to you, false witnesses, and to those who weigh the price of injustice, for you will suddenly perish. Woe to you, sinners, who persecute the righteous, for you yourselves will be delivered and persecuted because of this injustice, and the weight of your yoke will fall upon you. Chapter 96. Have hope, O righteous ones, for suddenly the sinners will perish before you, and you will have power over them according to your will. On the day of tribulation of the sinners, your children will rise and fly like eagles. Your nest will be higher than that of condors. You will ascend like a squirrel and like hares. You will be able to enter the fissures of the earth and the crevices of the rocks, far forever from the presence of the unjust who will groan like sirens and cry because of you. Therefore, do not fear, you who have suffered, for healing will be distributed among you. A radiant light will illuminate you, and you will hear from heaven the word of rest. Woe to you, sinners, for your wealth gives you the appearance of righteous ones, but your hearts convince you that you are sinners, and they will testify against you and your evil deeds. Woe to you who devour the flour of wheat, who drink wine in large cups, and who by your power crush the humble. Woe to you who can drink fresh water at any time, for from one moment to another you will receive your reward. You will be consumed and pressed to the last drop, because you have rejected the source of life. Woe to you who forge injustice, fraud, and blasphemy, because a memorial for crimes will be set up against you. Woe to you, powerful ones, who oppress the righteous unjustly, because the day of your destruction is approaching, the day of your judgment, and at that time many good days will come for the righteous. Chapter 97. Believe, O righteous ones, for the sinners will be ashamed and will perish on the day of iniquity. You, sinners, know that the Most High watches over your destruction, and the angels of heaven rejoice in your perdition. What will you do, sinners? Where will you flee on the day of judgment when you hear the murmur of the prayer of the righteous? You will be as those against whom these words will testify. You are complicit in sin. In those days the prayer of the righteous will reach the Lord, and the days of judgment will come for you. Your unjust works will cover you with shame, and he will reject every work based on injustice. Woe to you who are at sea or on the land, for your memory is disastrous to you. Woe to you who acquire gold and silver unjustly, for you have said, "We have become rich, we have fortune and properties, and we have obtained what we wanted. Let us now fulfill our plans because we have amassed money by filling our deposits to the brim, like water, and our workers are numerous." Your fantasies will spread like water, for your wealth will not last but will suddenly vanish from you, because you acquired it unjustly, and you will be delivered to a great curse. Chapter 98. Now I swear before you, whether you are wise or foolish, that you will have strange experiences on the earth. For you men will wear more ornaments than a woman, and more colorful clothes than a young girl. You will be rich in kingdom, greatness, power, silver, gold, purple, brilliance, and delights, which will be poured out like water, for you lack knowledge and wisdom, and because of that you will be destroyed, with your possessions, your glory, and your splendor. With dishonor, mortality, and a great famine, your spirit will be cast into a burning oven. I swear before you, sinners, that just as a mountain does not become a servant, nor a hill a maidservant, in the same way sin was not sent upon the earth, but man committed it, and cursed is he who commits it. Barrenness was not given to the woman, but it is because of the work of her hands that she dies without children. I swear to you, you sinners, by the Holy and Great One, that all your evil deeds are manifest in the heavens, and none of your acts of oppression is hidden or secret. Do not think in your mind, nor say in your heart, that you did not know or see. For every sinner is daily recorded in the heavens before the presence of the Most High. From now on, know that every oppression you exert is recorded day by day until the day of judgment. Woe to you, fools, for you will perish by your folly. You did not listen to the wise, and good fortune will not be your inheritance. Now, know that you are prepared for the day of destruction. Therefore, do not seek to live, you sinners, but depart and die, for you will not know respite. You are prepared for the day of the great judgment, a day of great tribulation and great shame for your spirits. Woe to you, those of heavy hearts, who forge wickedness and drink blood. Where do your feasts come from, and how can you revel thus? Is it not from all the goods that the Most High Lord has placed on the earth? You will not have peace. Woe to you who love injustice, for you have promised yourselves happiness, but know that you will be delivered into the hands of the righteous, who will cut off your head and kill you without mercy for you. Woe to you who rejoice in the tribulation of the righteous, for no grave will be dug for you. Woe to you who do not consider the word of the righteous, for there is no hope of life for you. Woe to you who write lies and impious words, for you write your lies so that people can hear them and harm their neighbor. Therefore they will not have peace but will suddenly perish. Chapter 99. Woe to you who act ungodly, praise falsehood, and exalt it, for you will perish, and there will be no happy life for you. Woe to those who pervert the words of truth, transgress the eternal law, and become what they were not on the earth. They will be trampled. In those days, be ready, O righteous ones, to raise your prayers and set them as a testimony before the angels, so that they may remember the sins of the sinners before the Most High. In those days, the nations will be troubled, and the families of the peoples will rise on the day of destruction. In those days, the miserable will go out, carry their children, and abandon them. Their children will perish, and even their infants will not return to them, and they will have no compassion for their relatives. I swear to you again, sinners, that sin is ripe for the day of incessant shedding of blood. Those who worship the stone, and make images of gold, silver, wood, or clay, those who worship impure spirits or demons, and all kinds of idols without discernment, no help will come to them. They fall into ungodliness because of the folly of their hearts. Their eyes are blinded to the fear of their hearts and to the vision of their dreams. Therefore they become ungodly and dreadful, for they have forged with all their work a deception, and have worshipped the stone that will perish instantly. On the other hand, in those days, blessed are those who accept the words of wisdom and understand them, follow the ways of the Most High, walk on the paths of justice, and do not turn to ungodliness with the ungodly, for they will be saved. Woe to you who spread evil among your neighbor, for you will be dead in the grave. Woe to you who use a measure of fraud and deception, and who bring bitterness on the earth, for you will be consumed. Woe to you who build your house through the labor of others. All the building materials are bricks and stones of injustice, and I tell you that you will not have a moment of peace. Woe to those who reject the measure and the eternal inheritance of their fathers, and whose blades then follow idols, for they will not have rest. Woe to those who act unjustly, collaborate in oppression, and murder their neighbor until the day of the great judgment, for he will cast down your glory, arouse his anger, and destroy you all by the sword, and all the saints and the righteous will remember your sins. Chapter 100. In those days, in the same place, fathers and their sons will be punished together, and brothers will fall upon each other in death, until a river flows with their blood. For a man will not prevent his hand from killing his son and his grandson, nor will the sinner prevent his hand from killing his beloved brother. From sunrise to sunset, they will cut each other's throats. The horse will advance until its chest is bathed in blood, and the chariot until its upper part is submerged. In those days, the angels will descend to a hidden place, gather together in one place all those who have committed sin, and on that day of judgment the Most High will rise to pronounce the great judgment among the sinners. He will appoint among the holy angels guardians who will protect them as the apple of his eye until he eradicates all evil and sin. And if the righteous sleep in a long sleep, they will not have to worry. Then the children of the earth will see wisdom in safety and understand all the words of this book. They will recognize that wealth cannot save them from ruin and from their sin. Woe to you if, on the day of terrible anguish, you torment the righteous or burn them with fire, for you will be rewarded according to your deeds. Woe to you, hardened hearts, who see to plan evil, for terror will seize you, and no one will help you. Woe to you, sinners, because of the words of your mouths and the works of your hands, which your wickedness has forged in flaming fires worse than fire. Now know that the angels of heaven will investigate your actions, from the sun, the moon, and the stars in reference to your sin, for on earth he has already rendered justice to the righteous. But he will add as a testimony against you every cloud, mist, dew, or rain that will be prevented from descending upon you, and he will pay attention to your sins. Now offer gifts to the rain to see if it refuses to descend upon you. When has the dew accepted gold and silver to descend? When will the frost and snow with their chills fall upon you, with all the snowstorms and their calamities? In those days you will not be able to stand before them. Chapter 101. Children of heaven, observe the sky and all the work of the Most High. Tremble before him and do not commit evil in his presence. If he closes the windows of the sky and prevents rain and dew from falling upon you, what will you do? If his anger descends upon you because of all your actions, you will not have the opportunity to ask for mercy. If you speak words of pride and insolence against his justice, you will not know peace. Don't you see the pilots when their ships are shaken by waves and tossed by winds, and they fall into danger? They fear that all their magnificent possessions will go into the sea with them, and make dire predictions that the sea will engulf them and they will all perish. Isn't the entire ocean, all its waters and all its movements, the work of the Most High? Hasn't he put his seal on all his actions and bound it to the earth? By his rebuke it trembles, dries up, and all its fish die just like everything it contains. But you sinners on the earth do not fear him. Isn't he who made the heaven and the earth and all that they contain? Who gave knowledge and wisdom to all who move on the earth and the sea? Ship pilots do not fear the sea, and sinners do not fear the Most High. Chapter 102. In those days, if he sends a terrible fire upon you, where will you flee, and how will you save yourselves? And if he speaks his word upon you, will you not be dismayed and tremble? All luminaries will be seized with great fear, and the whole earth will be terrified, trembling, and alarmed. All the angels will execute his orders, and seek to hide from the presence of the great glory. The children of the earth will tremble and be shaken, and you sinners will be cursed forever and will not have peace. Do not fear, souls of the righteous. Have hope. You who died in righteousness, do not be troubled if your soul descended painfully into the grave. If your body did not prosper during your life according to your keenness, rather wait for the day of the judgment of sinners, the day of curse and punishment. When sinners die, they will say of you, just as we died, the righteous also died. What benefit did they derive from their deeds? Like us, they died in sadness and darkness. And what do they have more than us? Now we are equal. What will they take away and see in eternity? For they died too, and now they will not see the light. I tell you, you sinners, it is enough for you to eat, drink, steal, sin, strip men, acquire wealth, and live happy days. You have seen the end of the righteous. No kind of violence was found in them until their death. Yet they died as if they had never existed, and their lives plunged into friction. Chapter 103. But now glory to you, righteous ones, for the glory of the great, the glorious, the powerful, and the sovereign, and for his greatness, I know the mystery. I have read it on the tablets of heaven, seen the book of the saints, and found written and recorded in them that all well-being, joy, and glory are prepared for them. They are written for those who died in righteousness. Many goods will be given to them as a reward for their labors, and their destiny will be better than that of the living. The souls of those who died in righteousness will live and rejoice, and their spirit and memory will not perish before the great presence for all generations of the world. From there, you will not fear reproach. Woe to you, sinners, if you die in the wealth of your sins. Those who are like you say, Blessed are these sinners who have seen all their days and are now dead in pleasure and wealth and have not seen in their life tribulation and murder. They died in glory, and no judgment was pronounced against them while they lived. You know that your souls will descend to Sheol, will be there miserable, and their suffering will be great in darkness, chains, and fiery torment. There, the great punishment will be executed. Woe to you, for you will not have peace. Do not say, looking at the righteous and the good who are alive. During their life they worked hard, experienced much suffering, knew many evils, were consumed, reduced, and their spirit humiliated. They were destroyed and found no one to help them. They were tortured incessantly and do not expect to see the light of the following day. They hope to be the head but are the tail. They worked and suffered but did not benefit from the fruit of their labor. They are food for sinners and the wicked and have been dominated by those who hate and attack them. They bowed their heads before those who hate them and had no pity. They tried to move away to escape and rest, but found nowhere to flee or how to escape. They lamented their tribulation before the leaders and cried out against those who devour them, but their cries were not heard, and no one listened to their voice. Chapter 104. I swear by heaven, the angels remember you for good, in the presence of the glory of the great. Wait, even if you were first afflicted by misfortune and suffering, you will now shine like the stars of heaven. You will appear and shine, and the gate of heaven will open before you. Cry out for justice, and it will manifest for you. For all your tribulation will be given back to the rulers, and to all those who helped those who plunder you. Wait and do not give up your hope, for you will know great joy like the angels in heaven. What should you do? You will not have to hide on the day of the great judgment. You will not be taken for sinners, for the eternal judgment will be far from you for all generations of the world. Now do not fear, O righteous ones, when you see sinners prosper and become powerful in their ways. Do not associate with them, but distance yourselves from their violence, for you will be associated with the hosts of heaven. Even if you sinners say, none of our sins should be examined or recorded, yet your sins are noted every day. Now I show you that light and darkness, day and night, come upon you. Do not be ungodly in your hearts. Do not lie. Do not alter the word of truth. Do not accuse the word of the holy and great of falsehood. Do not consider your idols, for all your lies and ungodliness will not be considered as right, but as great sins. Here is another mystery. Sinners will alter and pervert in many ways the word of truth and prefer meaningless words. They will lie and invent great falsehoods and write books about their words. However, if they truly write all my words in their languages and do not alter or shorten my words, but write everything according to the truth, I will testify to this in their favor. Chapter 105. In those days the Lord chose them from among the children of the earth to read to them and to give them testimonies about his wisdom, saying, Teach them, for you will be their guides, and will receive rewards among all the children of the earth. You will have all in reward. Rejoice, therefore, sons of righteousness, you will have peace. Amen. Fragment from the Book of Noah. Chapter 106. After a certain time Enoch took a wife for Methuselah, my son, and she bore him a son whom she named Lamech, saying, Surely righteousness has been humiliated until this day. When he matured, Lamech took a wife for himself, and she conceived from him and gave birth to a son. When the child was born, his flesh was whiter than snow, redder than the rose. His hair was white as pure wool, thick and shining. When he opened his eyes, he illuminated the whole house like the sun, and the entire house was resplendent. Then the child rose from the midwife's hands, opened his mouth, and spoke to the Lord of justice. Fear seized his father Lamech, who fled and went to his father Methuselah, and said to him, I have brought forth a different son. He is not like men, but seems to be a son of the angels of heaven. His nature is different, it is not like ours. His eyes are like the rays of the sun, and his face is splendid. It seems to me he was not born by me, but by the angels. And I fear that a wonder will occur during his life. Now, my father, I beg and implore you to go to Enoch our father, to know the truth, for his dwelling is with the angels. So when Methuselah heard the words of his son, he came to me, where I was at the end of the world, for he had learned that I was there. He cried out, and I heard his voice. I came to him and said to him, "Here I am, my son, why have you come to me?" He said to me, "I have come to you because of great anxiety and a vision to which I approached. Now listen to me, my father. A son has been born to my son Lamech, who does not resemble him. His nature is like that of heavenly beings. His color is whiter than snow and redder than the rose. The hair on his head is whiter than white wool. His eyes are like the rays of the sun, and they illuminated the whole house upon opening. He rose from the midwife's hands, opened his mouth and blessed the Lord of heaven. His father Lamech was seized with fear and fled to me. He does not believe that the child is his, but that of the angels of heaven. That is why I have come to you to know the truth." Chapter 107. Then I, Enoch, answered him, saying, "Certainly the Lord will restore his law upon the earth, as I have seen and told you, my son. In my time, during the days of Jared my father, they transgressed the word of the Lord. Behold, they sinned and transgressed the law of the Lord, changing it to consort with women and sin with them. Then some of them gave birth to creatures who were not like spirits, but fleshly. For this there will be great anger, and a flood upon the earth, a great destruction for a year. But this child who has been born to you, as well as his 3 sons, will be saved. When those on earth die, then the earth will rest and be purified from the great corruption. Now tell Lamech that this son is indeed his, without falsehood. Call this child who is born Noah, for he will be your rest when you rest in him, and he will be your salvation. For he and his sons will be saved from the corruption of the earth caused by all the sinners and the wicked of the earth who will be there in his days. After that, there will be an even greater injustice than that which will have been accomplished in his days. For I know the mysteries of the Lord, which the saints have told and revealed to me, and which I have read in the tablets of heaven." Chapter 108. I had written in them that generation after generation, evil will be done like this, and there will be evil until in the generations of righteousness impiety and wickedness cease, and violence disappears from the earth, and good comes to the earth. Now watch over your son, Lamech, and tell him that this child is truly his, without falsehood. When Methuselah heard the word of his father Enoch, who had revealed all these secret things to him, he returned and made them known, and gave this child the name of Noah, for he was to comfort the earth from all destruction. Another book that Enoch wrote for his son Methuselah, and for those who will come after him and keep the law in the last days. You have done well. Wait for these days until the end is accomplished, for those who act wrongly, and until the power of sinners is completed. For sin will truly pass away, and the name of sinners will be erased from the book of life and the book of the saints, and their seed will be destroyed forever. Their spirits will be dead. They will lament in a chaotic desert and burn in fire, for there will be no land. I saw there a cloud that was not clearly discernible, for because of its depth I could not look above. I saw a flame of fire burning and shining like bright mountains that were turning and moving from side to side. I asked one of the holy angels who was with me, and I said to him, "What is this bright object? For it is not the sky, but only a shining flame burning. And there is a sound of cries, weeping, lamentation, and great suffering." He said to me, "The place you see there is where the souls of sinners, the ungodly, those who act wrongly, and all those who alter what the Lord has said through the mouths of the prophets are thrown. These things are written in books and inscribed up high in heaven, so that the angels and the saints may read them and know what will happen to sinners, humble spirits, those whose bodies have been afflicted and who have been rewarded by God, those who have been insulted by the wicked, those who have loved God and have not loved gold, silver, or any of the riches of this world, and whose bodies have been tortured, but who, after having existed, have not desired earthly food. They are considered as a passing breeze, and they live thus. The Lord has tested their souls and found them pure to bless his name. I have laid out in the books all their blessing. He has rewarded them, for it has been found that they loved heaven more than the sun of this world. While they were trampled by the wicked, heard insults and curses, and were insulted, they blessed me. Now I will call the spirits of the good for the generations of light, and I will transform those who were born in darkness and have not received honor or glory in their bodies, as is due for their faith. I will expose them in radiant light, those who loved my holy name, and I will make them sit on a throne. They will shine for countless times, for God's judgment is just, and he will restore the faithfulness of the faithful in the abode of the paths of truth. They will see those cast into darkness, those who lived in darkness, while the righteous will shine. The sinners will cry out loudly, and they will see them shine, those who will truly emerge in the days and times appointed for them. Thank you very much for your visit.